Okay, I think we got it. Good to see you, everyone. My name is Robbie Howell. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Sorry, OBS reset all of my bloody settings, and I had to argue with it for a couple of minutes before it would let me into the goddamn stream. If you can actually see me, please let me know in the chat. I hope it worked. It's been a little while since I did this. I think 9 or 10 months, in fact. How are you guys all doing? We're going to wait a couple minutes just to see if other people come in before we get started. And I hope you're excited to jump into it today. To give you a brief idea of what we're going to be doing, I have in the comments section, or in the description rather, for this stream, I have a little document, or rather a little Google Drive folder that should list all of the builds that were submitted to me today. And because of that, we're going to get through as many of them as I possibly can. Here's what it looks like. And we're going to go roughly in order of what people submitted to me. Good. It seems like a few of you guys are actually seeing me in the chat. Hello. Again, I'm so sorry I was late. Yeah, OBS reset my settings. Okay. So let's see. I think the first thing we're going to start off with is a Nanzhao build, which I'm very excited for. Nanzhao is something I'm super interested in. But before we get started, huge thanks to everyone who submitted. Even if I cannot get to you today, I want to give some thanks to all of you, namely Antiochus, Phoenix Alaris, ProX Warrior 33, Divicos Power, Max Bowman, Diego, Narrowfur, Crosshill, Celtic Keeper, Saracen Warlord, Apocalypso, Board RG, Anzu, Martin Corporad, and Gear Director. Once more, if I cannot get to your build today, I apologize, but I'm going to be doing my best and going in rough order of submission. If you guys in the chat want to see every single build that was submitted today, go into that little folder that I have down in the description of the stream, and inside there is a little link file at the very top that says build links. That should link you to every single one of the builds that are in this stream today, and some of the ones that I might not get to. There were a few people that submitted websites and similar to me that I could not include in the Google Doc itself, and those are only accessible via link. Hi everyone, it's good to see you all. Can't hear a word of what you're saying. Is anyone else having that problem? Can anyone else not hear me? I'm hoping so. I will wait to hear a little bit of confirmation before I go further. If not, I will try to reset myself. But hopefully it's reading loud and clear on my end. So I apologize if you can't hear me. It might be on your end. Yeah, if anyone can confirm to me whether I'm coming through loud and clear, that would be grand. I can hear you, says Generalissimo. Thank you very much. Not me. I can. Oh dear. Seems to be a bit hit or miss. Okay, you can hear me. Thank you very much. Okay, so Maximus, I apologize. It seems like it might be on your end. I'd recommend taking a quick check. If anyone has finite time in the chat and really wants to see me do your build, please let me know. I will try to get to it sooner rather than later. But I do want to start with the first build that was submitted to me, namely this build by Antiochus, Nanzhao. So to give you an idea, we're going to, again, since we're trying to go through as many builds as possible today, I'm going to be trying to get through these fast, and as such, I'm not going to be able to read all of the awesome stuff that you guys have presented to me. I will confirm to you all that with very few exceptions, I have read every single build here in full. I think they're fantastic, and I think you guys all did great jobs. But we're going to have to be quick and keep to the meat of the build, shall we say. As always, anyone who wants to see the builds in full, and I highly recommend you do, go to the folder down below and take a look through. I'm going to be taking pauses after every build to read through comments and chat and similar. Eric says, you aren't sick, are you? Yes, I am, unfortunately. I'm a little congestion-y. All right, let's start with Nanzhao. Nanzhao, spear and annoying, Lamau. The bonuses, as best I can see them, are as follows. First of all, and this is a more vague build. So we have cheaper military buildings, barracks probably. Spear line moves faster. Free supplies in Dark Age can be researched again in each other age with diminishing effects. And trade cards are briefly immune when trading with an enemy structure. The team bonus is the team gains access to Halberdier. Halberdiers do bonus damage versus infantry, and this also affects the unique unit. Now, if you want to see justifications, hopefully you can see them all on screen right now. Maybe I think I'm missing the team bonus. There it is. Just from looking at, we obviously don't have hard numbers on this one. So from what I can guess based on what I'm looking at it, obviously they're emphasizing spears, which is very cool. The spear line being faster and also getting bonus damage versus infantry is also quite interesting. It keeps them having a major weakness versus archers, which is kind of the spear line's thing almost. And then the unique unit, the Luojuzi, something like that. I don't know. I need the pin in to even have a vague guess at getting it correct. Fast spear-armed unit takes half damage when facing towards the attacker. Oh, I love that idea. I love directional effects. Not something supported in the game yet, but super cool. And feels like a unique unit to me. And then the Nanzhao Cataphract. Benefits from cavalry armor upgrades twice, starts off a tad lower. I'm guessing this would replace something in the stable. I don't know if the build makes it clear on that anywhere, but assuming that's like a Nightline replacement or something, I think that's quite interesting. The unique technologies, first, Burmese Expedition allows you to recruit elephants at stables, spawns an amount of elephants based on your game time at your town center. That's pretty interesting as well. It helps get around the batch spawn issue to some degree of like, oh, you just min-max, rush it, and then you get a shit ton of units. This at least means that if you hold out, you get more benefit, but then it also might hit like a Flemish Revolution like issue of, you press the button and then everything ends. And Imperial Unique Technology, Tribal Alliances, levy units are cheaper and faster to train. Thank you for using levy. I love that term. I want to make it more normalized. So looking at this civilization, in summary, it's obviously a lot harder without seeing the specific numbers, but I respect it. No problem with not using specific numbers. I think that the spear theme is quite interesting. I think that the civ bonuses, the free supplies thing is super cool, but I feel like the issue with that is it doesn't play into the spear theme. So unless you're going for like an infantry theme more broadly, which is fine, I feel like there's maybe a missed opportunity there. It also has the potential to be busted, but I don't have a problem with that. Trade cards briefly immune when trading with an enemy structure is super cool. I've thought about doing stuff like that in builds myself. It just is like never good. Maybe there's a way to make it good, but I don't know. I think that would be mostly like a fun bonus that doesn't really come up very often. I love team bonuses that give your team access to a given unit, but also give another buff. I think those are super fun. And I think that the Burmese Expedition unique technology has some risky potential, but gives the Civ more multidimensionality instead of just being infantry. Similarly with the Nanzhao Cataphract. Again, that's a very numbery unit, so I'd need to see how that actually stacked up in order to give a better evaluation of it. And I love the facing towards the attacker effect on the unique unit. If you want to take a look at the tech tree, notes on it are here, including one of the worst docks of all time, great barracks, decent archers and scarabs, light cav is but have access to steppe lancers and cavalry. Oh, so they have a full stable without camel. That's really interesting. Eco okay, monks exist, university okay, no gunpowder for balance. Nice. All right. Very solid build. Again, it's a looser fare, but I think it's respectable. I am myself really looking forward to tackling Nanzhao at some point. I think it's extremely interesting, though I'd probably go for calling them, I think Bai is the more accurate term, if we're talking ethnic, right? But dynastically, Nanzhao makes sense. Okay, sick build. Thank you so much to Antiochus for submitting this. Again, trying to go fast so I can get through as many builds as possible. Let's briefly check in with Chatteroonie. An annoying civ. Yes, indeed. I can see kind of what the theme of the annoying civ there. Love being a gremlin in games. Agree. Crossell says, Nanzhao is certainly a civ I considered. Would name it Bai or something. Yeah, I probably would too. Does it work for Turks? Turks with halberdiers? That would be pretty sick. I actually don't know how that would work. I think if it was left up to me, I would probably say yes, but that might not be the intention. There could be a Bai appearance in the Burmese campaign, although only due to the border territory, says Crossell as well. The campaign master Crossell. I agree. That sounds very appropriate. I think the Bai absolutely belong in the game, if nothing else. And I do look forward to getting them to them at some point. So nice. Antiochus, great build. We're going to move on to the second build. The Sumerians, an Age of Empires 1 civilization submitted by Phoenix Alaris. Now, I believe that this civilization is meant to be kind of in an Age of Empires 2 sort of theme. So it has unique unit, unique technologies, things like that, but is for the most part meant to be loyal to Age of Empires 1 more broadly. So if I'm wrong about that, apologize, Phoenix, but that's what I assume based on reading it. So let's take a look. Sumerians, a hoplite and siege civilization. First bonus. I love when people name bonuses, by the way, so props for that. Hardy populace. Villagers gain scaling HP. Second bonus, fertile crescent. Farm upgrades are free. Third bonus, early bronze working. Armory upgrades don't cost gold. And last is intercity sieges. Siege weapons fire 20% faster. And team bonus is founders of copper. Armories are half cost. Okay, it's quite interesting just looking at it. I mean, I don't know Age of Empires 1 as well, but you can map these onto Age of Empires 2 civilizations, I think, almost in full, except for the villager HP thing, which is definitely happening at some point. Yeah, farm upgrades free is Franks, armory upgrades don't cost gold is Spanish, siege weapons fire faster is Celts, right? It's Celts? I think it is. And then armories are half cost is, oh, I know there's a team bonus that does something like that in current game. Whatever. It's cool. It's a very conventional approach that maps well onto what we know of AoE 2. But let's take a look at all this awesome history that I wish I could read, but I do not have time for. Take a look at the unique unit. It is a little chariot, or probably a war cart. Gis Gigir, a melee chariot unit which can transport a single unit slower than a normal chariot. If said unit is an archer, the battle cart, I guess you renamed it, gains a secondary ranged attack. So battle carts are something that you often see in historical strategy games. Little spoiler, when I put out the part 2 of my Civilization 6 X AoE 2 collab with Yume Crab, one of the quiz questions he gave me had to do with the Sumerians in Civ 6. They have the war cart as a unique unit. I really like the name Gizgigir, assuming that's like authentic. I think that's fantastic, and it sounds way better than war cart, right? Makes sense for a Sumerian civilization. Unique technologies. 1, penetrating axe. All melee infantry attacks reduce enemy armor temporarily. Very cool. And 2, Dalu. Every building the player owns that gets destroyed returns about 15% of their resource cost. That's really cool as well. Makes a lot of sense. Now, one of my only issues I'm seeing with this build, for me at least, is that I don't see the hoplite in it. It says hoplite and siege civilization. I'm really not seeing hoplite here. Siege for sure. But even then, there's only one siege bonus. It's like an armory civilization, which is great because it's very versatile. It has a chariot thing. It has an archer benefit for the chariot. It has an infantry armor stripping. It has a defensive stuff. It's a bit of everything, which I think is grand. I just don't agree with the classification based on that. But maybe I'm missing something and I'm a big dummy because maybe that's just how Age of Empires 1 works somehow. So apologies if that's the case. I think that overall, it is a cool build that feels appropriate to me. It's certainly a damn sight better than the official AoE 1 build. I would love to know whether this is actually like a closer approximation of what the war cart was called. If so, I'm remembering that. Apologies if I steal that, Phoenix, at some point in the future. I think my favorite bonus on the whole thing is this. Penetrating axe, where melee infantry attacks temporarily reduce enemy armor. I think temporarily reducing armor is an awesome effect, makes a ton of sense, and if we got something in the game that allowed an attack to temporarily reduce a stat, I would have a frickin' field day. You better believe I'd put that shit on everything. So, nicely done, Phoenix. Thank you so much for submitting the build. I think it's great. And now let's take a look at what chat has to say. Okay. Phoenix, referring to the earlier one, says, let's call it an interference civ so the wins won't be lonely. Okay, Sumerians. Farm upgrades for free makes sense for Sumerians, says Bobo. This is very conventional, says Crosshill. Doesn't appear as much in AoE 1, I think. Hoplite is a unit in AoE 1. Yes, I did know that. But it just I didn't see any explicit bonuses for the hoplite. If you want to see tech tree, because someone asked about it, I actually don't know where it is. Oh, it's down here. Okay, so I'll slowly scroll through it while I'm reading chat. Divico says academy units can fly. That would be a pretty good hoplite bonus. Phoenix says, oh damn, I wish I had thought of a bonus besides just making them go all the way to Centurion. No problem, man. Just how it goes sometimes. Maybe, like, again, maybe an AoE one that's actually really impactful. I just don't know. Jalorn says, hey, missed a bit, but I'm here now. Good to see you. We only just started. Eric asks if this is for AoE 1 or AoE 2. I believe this is intended for AoE 1, but a revised version that features unique units and unique technologies. And Maximus says, how many submissions were there? I think I got 15 off the top of my head. Awesome. And with that, I say we should proceed to the next build on our list. This one is by ProX Warrior 33. It's on Figma, using my little Figma template that I shared ages ago. I use a different one now, of course, but this one should still do the trick. And this is for a Nepalese build. Thank you very much for the submission, Prox, and I think that it's very fun to see you using my formatting. So you're already getting perks for that. Let's take a look in at the Nepalese. First of all, nice little Photoshoperino there on the Civ ensign. I think that's quite cool. Good use of the Gurjars. Infantry and Siege. So first, Heavy Scorpion available in Castle Age. Cool. Very expensive tech, though. 2, Cavalry Armor upgrades free. Nice. I just did something similar to that. It's an obvious one. Some Civ, I guess in the next 2 DLCs, a Civ is getting that bonus. 3, Monastery techs researched 100% faster. Makes sense for the Civ, but feels a little weak to me. I might be wrong. 4, Lumberjacks generate 15% food in addition to wood. Aha, that's very, very strong. Yeah, people often stick this on like a Polynesian sort of build, but maybe it makes sense here. Next, start with 2 yaks. Yeah, it makes sense to me. And I guess if the Incas get something like this as a team bonus, it kind of feels appropriate. You could get a civilization that has a better one as a civ bonus. But I will say, start with 2 yaks plus lumberjacks generate food in addition to wood. Seems insane. Like, would I put this as maybe the best eco civ in the game? I don't know. Because, like, the polls are gross. I don't know if they still are, but for a long time, polls were absolutely gross on eco, and that's off the back of just 2 eco bonuses that were very good. And this is 2 eco bonuses that are very good. And I would guess that generating food in addition to wood for lumberjacks, maybe the best eco bonus in the game. Maybe. I could be wrong, but just on these numbers, that's my guess. Team bonus can upgrade heavy scorpions into imperial scorpions. Nice. I've wanted to see imperial scorps of some kind for a while. I think that would be sick. But again, it kind of gets into the problem of heavy scorps being available in Castle Age would be insanely expensive, and it would be almost impossible to get to. So I think if you did that, you'd probably need to bundle it with the tech being cheaper, especially if they have then like a later upgrade too. Unique techs, Golden Arrow, Scorpions plus 50% bonus damage. That's quite interesting. And Bala, Battle Elephants plus 8 attack versus infantry. Cool. Okay, so you're doing a lot with this build. And then they have some infantry stuff of their own. So there's primarily like a scorpion thing. They have an elephant thing. And then they have an unique infantry called the Kukri Warrior. Light infantry that attacks faster over time. And look at that. Look at that little Photoshoperino for the Karambit. That's sick. Nice. Look at the cute yak. Hey, buddy. Imperial Scorpion stats right here. Wow, that's quite good. Whew. Yeah, and no wonder it's... Okay, don't reduce that tech. I might still recommend making Heavy Scorpion cheaper, though. Yaks... Wait. Cost food and have train time? And I'm guessing... The 45 food, 1 arm... You can eat them, right? You can eat them, I'm guessing. Wait a sec. Can I bring in the margins on this? No, I can't. Shart. I guess I can't do that in someone else's document. Okay. Kukri. Faster move speed. Oh, maybe this is about Kukri. Okay, that would make a lot more sense if this was the Kukri. Maybe I'm just off. Anyways, Kukri, talking about down here. Kukri increases attacks 0.1 faster every 5 hits. That's cool. I actually think that's a really cool bonus. I'm guessing it would wear off after a period of time. Cheaper than throwing axemen, expensive upgrade cost. I think they would probably not be very good, but I could see them eating bases, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Kukri is a really cool weapon. And then some details on the unique technologies. Golden Arrow allows Scorpions to hit 2 more tiles instead of 9 units in a row, it hits 11. Actually, that's really cool. But that's different from what the stated effect is, so maybe that's like an additional effect. If you want to see the tech tree, here it is. They're missing champ, some barrack stuff, kind of a lot of barrack stuff for an infantry civ, and no arson, so you can't eat bases as much. Solid archery range, quite a good one even. Fine stable, great stable for elephants, and they have hussar. No cav, but hussar fully upgraded is good. Scorpion stuff, no rams. Oh, that's interesting. Castle stuff, university stuff, perfect smith, perfect monastery. Really good dog. Well, not really good. They don't have dry dock or shipwright, but they have mostly full ups. That's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. So you can build yaks. You can eat them, right? Maybe I'm stupid, but I'm guessing you can. If they're just like a scout that you toddle around with, then they're not good at all. But please tell me you can eat them. No stone shaft and no guilds. Okay. My guess is this civilization would be very, very good. They have really good options in all of their military buildings, every single one. I think their unique unit isn't super strong, but they have, and scorpions would be hard to get to, but the fact that they have fully upgraded hussar, arbalester, halberdier minus squires and arson, seems like a pretty good comp. I'd probably, you guys know I love removing technologies, but I would almost certainly remove a lot. Really interesting build, Prox. Very, very cool stuff. Thank you so much for sharing it. Let me take a look at the commentos. I'm guessing there's a lot of them. Okay. Gaetano says, the old unique unit for Jurchens, the Sparrowhawk, are you bringing it back? Okay, so that was for the Khitans. This is separate from the build, but just to briefly detour. I actually got reached out to by a commenter on Discord who is quite knowledgeable with East Asian and Chinese history, and he helped me figure out that the Iron Sparrowhawk is actually a Tangut thing, not a Khitan thing, though it was probably influenced by the Khitans. And so the sources that I originally used to try to get that unit were just wrong, which is a great example of why East Asia is kind of spooky for me. So I changed it to something that was more fitting based on his suggestions. Godflesh says, would you have accepted Age of Empires 3 stuff? Honestly, I might have, but I probably wouldn't have had much to say about it because I don't know the game, which is, I wish I did, and I'm hoping to move into it someday. Crossell says, best polls bonus is 3x3 mils. Divico says, infantry civ, no bonus or unique tech, like old Teutons. Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't personally call them an infantry civ. I think if I were playing them, I would almost always go for their really good arbs or hussars. And then they also have a bonus to elephants. Bjarka says, 8 attack on an infantry sounds really nice and really strong. I agree. I actually like that bonus. And Bjarka says, maybe infantry counter civ instead. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Jaloran says, not sold on them being infantry civ, feel more like siege and eco. Yeah, they're siege and eco, and as Bjarka says as well, they have amazing scorpions and anti-infantry elephants. They are the anti-infantry civilization, and I would also say insane economy. Really cool build. There's a lot to say about this one. It was a very in-depth and interesting one. Round of applause. All right, still trying to move fast. Hope you guys don't mind the breakneck pace. Just want to make sure we can get through as many people as possible. Hospitalers. This one was submitted by, I believe, Divikos. Yeah, it was submitted by Divicos Power. And the Hospitalers, I've noticed in this little round of submissions, I had like 4 or 5 that had to do with the Holy Land writ large. And so this is kind of like the Crusade special, I guess. And the Hospitalers are one of the many within this overarching camp. So let's take a look at them. Divicos says, Hospitalers build. They have such a cool symbol. Nice little lead-in. Bonuses. Monks cost 30% less gold. Makes sense. Buildings get +1/+1 armor each age from feudal age. Very interesting. They did have strong houses in the countryside. 5 villagers can garrison in each mill, mining camp, and lumber camp. Nice, like the Khmer, and also like my Shilans thing, but just defensively. Makes sense. Cattle do not rot and give 20% more food. Really? That's really cool. That's really cool. That's actually a very, very creative bonus. And then squires and husbandry free. Makes a lot of sense from like grounding perspective. I tried to take my own Outre-Marin build in a more slow direction, but this doesn't make sense historically speaking if we're taking the technologies on their face. Team bonus: castles generate gold at a rate of 1 castle equals 1 relic. That's sick. That's great. This is such an eco-focused civilization. That's really interesting. Unique technologies: houses of healing, universities and monasteries heal allied units around 6 tiles at a rate of 38 feet per minute, so it's much better strongholds. Makes sense. But without the castle shooting faster. Ooh. And then Elberks, like the Sicilians, melee units get +1/+1 armor. Yeah, I feel like if you were going to give a civilization a unique technology for Halbergs, it would probably be Hospitallers over Sicilians. They were used everywhere, though. And I do think it makes sense for it to be a melee thing, too. Instead of just cavalry or infantry. Nice. Cool. That's really interesting. And then unique unit. They have a dismounted Hospitaller Knight. They got some fat stats. Seems on the weak side, though, based on the cost. And then they upgrade to elite. Looks pretty good. It does not look like they have any powers, though, unless I'm missing something. If they don't have any powers, then I think this is very weak. But I could be blind. Let's see if I'm blind. I don't think so, actually. Well, so yeah, I think the unique unit would probably unfortunately never be used. But if the intention was for it to have a power or something, I think it could be quite cool. Because as is, it's a little more expensive than a swordsman, and it's actually a little weaker than a swordsman in some ways. It has better attack and better HP, same speed, same rate of fire, and comparable armor. I forget if it's the same. But then it's also substantially more expensive and doesn't benefit from squires or gamisons. So yeah, I'm not sold on this. If it doesn't have a power, I'm not sold. If it does, cool. Tech tree, if you want to take a look, you can flip a Rooney through. While I'm flipping through, I'm going to have a sip of water. Pardon me. Yes, excellent. I'm glad. Only scout line. Woo! More civilizations should only have scout cav. Okay. Full blacksmith. No shipwright, but great dock. Yep. No treadmill crane. No sappers. No heresy. And then a couple of ecotechs. Sick! And then some excellent flavor stuff like the Great Master's Palace. Awesome. Great build. I'd say that my favorite parts about it are, I think that the not rotting bonus is sick. Really cool idea. I think that it's a kind of an understated set of bonuses, but they're quite interesting, and they make for a very economy-focused civilization, which kind of makes sense. Hospitallers ended up being very wealthy. I like the castle bonus a lot, too. I think it's actually very strong. Maybe too strong, but I'd be tempted to keep it. Just have them be a very good ally to have. They seem to be a rather passive faction until late game, which also kind of makes sense. Yeah, I think my favorites... Excuse me, I got a cough. Yeah, I think my favorites are the building armor, cattle not rotting, team bonus. And the rest is cool, too. The only thing I don't like is the unique unit, assuming it doesn't have a power. Nicely done. Divicos, I think this is a really solid build. And it kicks off our march through the Crusades with many of the submitted civilizations. Let's now take a look at chat. Okay, Gaetano talking about the Sparrowhawk conversation earlier, asked if I'm adding it to another save. When I get to the time guts, it will almost certainly be the unique unit there. General Lismo says, all things considered, that last build is very good. I agree. Kind of Khmer, I agree. Gold units civilization, that's a fascinating description for the Hospitallers. I would agree with that assessment based on their weak levies and their castle gold generation. Eric says, I think anti-decay would be hard to implement. Totally agree, but still a sick idea. Jaloran says he loves the House of Healing tech. I agree. Crossell says, could make it so that food under own TC doesn't rot. I think that's a cool idea, too. Nothing special for the unique unit, but with the unique technology it becomes quite good. That's true, but the unique technology, from how I read it at least, applied to all melee units. Let me double check. How's their sword line? Are they missing their sword line? No, they have full sword line. So I still think I would personally give it a power to give it a bit of a distinction from the sword line, because as is, I think it's a good deal weaker. Godflesh says, I suppose you could have understood a lot of things I have in mind, because I impose the structure of AoE2 into AoE3. Oh, that's cool. I would definitely get it more. If someone in future wants to submit a build for the AoE3 time frame in the context of AoE2, I'm much more comfortable looking at that. Jalorn has rotting meat be moved over to a second corpse? Oh, wow. That would be tricky. I don't know how I'd do that. Jalorn says, might want to move the team bonus to a unique technology with commensurate cost. Possibly, if it's too strong. I think it's sick, though. The Divico says, the idea is they have awful trash units, great gold units. Castle have to get more gold in the end. I agree. Completely succeeded on that front. Sick. Awesome. Really good build. I enjoyed it a lot. Maybe my favorite one we've looked at so far. But we got a lot more. Let's take a look at the Swiss. This one is, I believe, by Max Bowman. And the Swiss has, I think, one of the prettiest presentations that we've seen yet today. Look how pretty it is. I really like the backgrounds and things. Aesthetics that matter a lot to me. The Swiss, infantry and gunpowder. Disclaimer, most of it is not fact check. No problem. Oh, shoot. It's not reading super well on the screen right now. Let me quickly shift this over. I'm going to have to shift it back afterwards. A little awkward. Okay. Historical influence. Very nice. Minor flavor. Hey, that's my ensign. Nice. I would redo this ensign now, by the way, because I think it's not super good. Campaign. Okay, civ bonuses. Swiss pikemen deal 30% more damage when in the line of sight of a gunpowder unit or foot archer unit. So I think that's cool, and it does make sense with the Swiss death ball that they famously used, and that I referenced as well in my build. My personal issue is I don't think civilization bonuses should affect a unique unit, because that should be like an innate part of the unique unit. I think the core idea makes a lot of sense and is very cool. When in line formation with 2 or more unit types, minus 50% bonus damage. Wow. That's a l'avant-garde bonus if I've ever seen one. I've actually had a couple of commenters that say they really want to see formations have more impact in Age of Empires. I can see the appeal. Not only is this like a beyond impossible to implement, but I'm not sure. I feel like if we made formations so much of a focus, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it's a cool idea though, and I think that if we changed it to like a basic aura effect of some kind, like bonus nearby unit types that aren't your unit type with reduced bonus damage, I think I'd be more in line with it. Core idea though of push death ball composition, yes, we like that. 2 bonuses towards that effect thus far. Wood cost decreased, wood sale price increased. Yes, I think a wood bonus on the Swiss is mandatory. Market stuff is very hard to implement, but I like the idea in theory. And create cows at mills for 20 food. Yeah, the Swiss do love their cows. I think it's cool. I think it's very, very strong, though. Assuming that the cows don't have, like, a long-ass training time. Repeatable food that... like, a repeatable source of food that only takes food is something that in L'Avant-Garde, in, like, a game that had resources balanced very differently, I like a lot. And I don't like the way that Age of Empires 2 has resource balances currently. But... as is, I think this would be turbo broken. Fun, but turbo broken, at a guess. And also, 2 good eco bonuses. Whenever I see a civ with 2 good eco bonuses, probably means it's very strong. Oh, they have another. Elevation bonus 20 plus 20 more effective. So the Tatars or the Georgians, I would presume. Makes sense. A lot of people said that I missed a bonus like this on my original build. Whoa, another one. Siege plus 20 attack versus castles, Krapos, town centers. Wow. Historically speaking, I'm not sure where this one is coming from. That seems... Is that good? Yeah, it's pretty good, because Mangonel against a town center becomes like 50% more effective. That seems really strong. And team bonus, when the opponent used the market, the Swiss and their allies gain 5% of what the enemy team have either sold or 5% of the gold used to purchase. That's definitely a l'avant-garde bonus right there. Wowee! I think, okay, so contextualizing this civilization in a version of Age of Empires where all civilizations had 6 bonuses and they were all good. Excuse me, I got a cough. Yeah, in the game right now, this civilization would be probably the best in the game, I'm guessing. Unless the tech tree has something very interesting in store. And team bonuses like this, I've tried to make them work. They're notoriously hated. I still think that interference bonuses are good for the game. This one would be really tough, though. Cool bonus, though. I like the idea a lot. I just don't think the game supports it super well. I wish they did. Unique technologies, cowbells, available at the mill in Castle Age. Halves the cost of creating cows. Makes them even better. Woo, that's so strong. Never need to make a farm. Swiss pikeman line replaces the spear line. Low upgrade cost, trash unit, very slow, no base armor. Not deal much damage. Lots of health. Long spears with 3 range. Oh my god. Take bonus damage from cav archers. Mega bonus damage against mounted units. Sorry I'm coughing so much. Affected by supplies and squires and of a lower cost than spearmen. Oh, that's also super strong. Yeah, Swiss pikeman, you can't have a build without him for sure. Arquebus, I'm guessing was what that says. Veiling for... Oh, it's another unit. Yeah, so it's a... Whoa, deals 1 shot on Arbalest? 10 seconds to fire. Would that even be good? And they do get affected by archer armor. Okay, did you guys ever play Empire Earth? It's a shitty game, right? But it's a really interesting one. It's one that I want to talk about on the channel at some point because I think it teaches us a lot about RTS. Jeez, I keep coughing. Excuse me. And in Empire Earth, they had one-shot units in the game. First the crossbow line, and then sharpshooters and snipers. And those would kill any unit in any non-siege, like any human unit in the game in 1 hit, but had a long-ass firing time. And those weren't particularly good. I mean, I never played the game competitively, but they never struck me as very good, so maybe this would be balanced? Really interesting. I don't know. I think we can say that this build is like super, super different from like the way the game is now. It's fun to think about, though. I mean, it would be very hypocritical for me to say that we don't want to see l'avant-garde stuff. And I'm here for it. Unique technologies, cell swords. Wow. So archer, militia, gunpowder units no longer cost food. I'm guessing archer, that would be wood. But gold cost is increased. Research time is decreased only if bought at a market. I'm not really sure. I get kind of what you're going for here. Resources can be dropped at markets. Will supply gold in addition to the... Wow, okay, that's insane. Oh my god. So remember we were talking about the Nepalese having maybe the best eco bonus that I've ever seen? This civilization has the best eco I've ever seen. It's so crazy. And then another one that makes siege workshops work faster. Okay. Siege focus on this one is an interesting choice. Okay, so then some tech tree grades. My screen doesn't quite capture it. Let me see if that works. There we go. Tech tree grades. Seems like a pretty good barracks considering their unique unit. Oh, they don't have blast furnace. That's interesting. Ranged units. Cavalry. They have poo-poo cavalry, which makes sense. Siege, they have some bonuses for, but a very limited tech tree. Besides bombard cannon and siege engineer. Okay, never mind. They just make cannons. Navy. Probably not very... Yeah, it's garbage. Makes sense. Wait a dang minute! Woo! Now this is an interesting one. No ballistics, you say? Could that ever work? Could I make a civilization work that had no ballistics? I think it's possible. Okay, so I've said this civilization is like ultra turbo mega broken. No ballistics is bad, but I don't think it makes the civilization not turbo broken. It's cool. It's a cool thought of experiment, though. How do you make a civilization without ballistics? What would I need to see in history to make a civilization without ballistics? I think kind of like on my Ketons build, how I removed iron casting. The reason I did that is that Chinese sources literally taunted the Ketons for being so shit in melee combat. They're like, yeah, they're good with a bow. Spear, swords, they're pushovers. And so if I saw in history, like a source that said, oh yeah, these guys can't hit a broadside of a goddamn barn. Maybe I'd say no ballistics. That's so wild. Cool idea, though. And then monks, no devotion or faith. I disagree with that, but I see where you're coming from. And economy, A. Yeah, definitely an A. It's an S tier economy. And then a couple of other... Hey, and look, it's my dumb face at the bottom. Hi, guys. Love your vids. Congrats on 1K. Thank you so much. What a funky build. This is probably going to be the most interesting build today. L'Avant-Garde only begins to summarize how offbeat this build is. And if I'm honest, I kind of love it. I got a submission for a contest ages ago for a version of the Magyars of the Hungarians that didn't have a barracks or like had no infantry. And then they could unlock the Teutonic Knight at the barracks later on. Wacky shit. And this feels like in that caliber of wacky as hell, but honestly, I kind of love it. Max, this is an incredibly interesting build. Nicely done with it. I honestly kind of love it. I think I admire this build more than any other I've seen yet. It's really, really gutsy and also fun. I want to see what this build would look like in game. Let's look at chat. I'm sure that this is going to be an interesting one to look through chat on. Hey, we got Max in chat. Good to see you, man. This is so freaking... What a build. So cool. You would have 7 peers from previous one. Big hole in Central Europe. Very pretty presentation. Couldn't agree more, Generalissimo. This is very pretty. AoE, okay, Generalissimo says in AoE 3, units do change stats depending on formation. Really? That's wild. That's so interesting. Max says, thanks for covering my design. Maybe a bit OP. No worries, man. Listen, I made... You see my original Egyptians build? I don't have any right to judge them based on an overpowered design. I think it's sick. I think it's so cool. And I think that having builds that stand out and are weird is there's a great place in the world for that. Godflesh says, what ideas do you have to make Christian order knights differentiate them from one another? I honestly don't know. I only briefly touched upon them in my research for the Outre-Marin build. I'd have to look in further. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you. My guess is that I'd have to look to where they went after the Crusades. Like, they ended up on Cypress and Malta or wherever the hell. I'd want to look at that more, I think. Generalissimo says, this Levant-Garde shenanigan in my jam. Hell yeah. I completely agree. The beginning, Divico says, at the beginning the cows can be great, but at the end of the game, the management of the cows will become annoying. I think that's true. If you had like a, you have a reseed farm button in the middle. If you had a re-cow button in the middle that just kept making them, that would be awesome. I think that you could say that the micro factor could balance out the cows. Maybe that's true. Crossell says, Templar players, all his buildings seized by the French and Imp. And Maximus says, wanted to add cowbells. I can see why. Cowbells do be a good meme. Jolorn says, annoying, perhaps not. Doesn't change the fact that you'd be generating food without spending wood. That's true. Turbo Diego says, reload time of 0.4. That's bonkers. I didn't even see that. Woo! And Godflesh says, Empire Earth is so stupid and fun. Turbo Diego adds, has interesting concepts. Jolorn adds, remember Empire Earth. Really well-designed campaigns, some terrible ones. Great music, AI that cheated to an unfun amount. Yep. Godflesh says, problem with Empire Earth, there's a lot of transitional residue when advancing. Really true, yeah. Do you guys want to see me do a video on Empire Earth at some point? What a trip that game was. I don't even know if people talk about it anymore. Is there a competitive scene for Empire Earth? We're going to have a fucking Red Bull Wolo for it? That would be wild. Because, God, that game is jank as shit. But it had some really interesting ideas. And there's one mechanic from it that I want to make the video about. There's one mechanic in it that I think is one of my favorite mechanics in any RTS of all time. So, something is a spoiler. Diego says, no ballistics is wild. Hell yeah, it's wild. Nexus had to balance it somehow. It made me double take, man. If anything, like, if you're going to remove one technology from a broken civilization to make them fair, ballistics is on the list, right? I just love the implication of it. That's Swiss, can't hit the broadside of a barn. Too high up on the mountain. Turbo Diego says, pretty interesting ideas. No heavy plow, though. Good catch, good catch. Swiss should be an AoE too. I agree, Diego. Only fact I remember about bad archery is the French killing their Genoese mercenaries in Agincourt. I didn't know that. That's hilarious, Godflesh. Max says, I have no audio, but I can just see Robbie laughing. Yeah, that's a good summary of what's going on right now. Okay, Generalissimo confirming that infantry does change stats depending on formation. That's sick. Wow, that's so interesting. And Phoenix said the thing we're all thinking. I have a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. That's, I mean, that's exactly what I thought as well. Generalissimo says, be absolutely down to see Empire Earth videos. It's a fascinating game. And Jaloran adds, Empire Earth is dead. Still bums him out because I love how ambitious it was. Some of the designers clearly love what they were doing. Yeah, I agree. I want to do it at some point. I have so much to do coming up, but maybe I can make time for it. Okay. What a build, guys. You guys are doing great. These are sick. Thank you again to everyone who submitted. And for everyone who's joined since we started, remember, check the description. We have a link to a Google Drive containing all of the builds for the video. All right. Mapuches. Woohoo! We love the Mapuche. This is a build by Diego. I took a look at an earlier version of this build and can vouch that it is sick. So let's take a look at how he's changed it. I might not remember all the changes. Oh my god. Look at this. A linked table of contents? Be still my beating heart. That's awesome. I love this sort of shit. Fantastic. Okay. A+, purely for linked presentation. Little introduction, some awesome historical background. Little overview, some concepts. Great. Let's take a look at the bonuses. 1. Foot units gain 1 bonus attack against cavalry and gunpowder. Infantry units get +1 armor against cavalry units each era. Okay, already setting the tone with anti-cavalry. For those who know about the Mapuche, historically speaking, this makes a lot of sense. I don't want to try to summarize it right now because I don't know the history super well, but suffice to say they're one of the few post-Columbian civilizations, like recently post-Columbian, I think within the AoE 2 timeframe, that not only were quite effective at combating horses and gunpowder, but also adopted them rather rapidly, or at least they did with horses. Next, they can build the Chemamel. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure we'll figure out what that means later. Mounted units move 10% faster. Additionally, these units reduce line of sight of enemy units nearby. Oh, sick. I love it. That is such a good freaking bonus. I love it so much. Unfortunately, impossible to implement, but on like a l'avant-garde front, line of sight bonuses are so freaking fun. I want to see stealth. I want to see line of sight. I want to see all that shit. Playing with information is so cool. I think this is my favorite bonus on any build thus far. Unimplementable, yes, but sick. Villagers can place farms over trees, reclaiming 30% of the cleared trees. Does that mean you like get the wood? Because if so, that seems gross. Okay, I'll reserve judgment until I hear what reclaimed means. Unique text, 1 Malone Tactics gives you access to stables and chemistry. Yeah, so they start without access to the stable, and they get access to the stable through this technology. Additionally, when a mounted unit attacks a monk or a villager, they have a chance to capture the unit instead of killing it. Super cool. Super duper cool. I'd obviously want to see the numbers, but just on paper, love the idea. And then Pilan's Blessing. Toki, which I'm guessing is the unique unit, deal bonus damage to buildings and siege weapons and gain a slight regeneration. Additionally, if there is a Toki on a selected group of units every time you change formation, the whole pack moves 10% faster. Formations! And this one also works with control groups and selections. Also something I've seen people wanting to experiment with. It's really cool. I am not ballsy enough. But I think the core idea is sick. It kind of boggles my puny little non-Age of Empires 3 playing brain. It's sick. You could also approximate it as an aura effect if you wanted to do something more conventional. And then a nice easy team bonus, palisade walls and gates built faster. Seems weak. Probably want to buff it up, but it seems like it's in the right place. Unique, or rather tech tree, they have some unique stuff. They have a slinger that upgrades to a hand cannoneer. They have something called a bolas rider. I have a good guess as to what that is. And then they actually have Eagle Scouts, but none of the upgrades. I actually love that touch. They have light cav, no scout cav, and hussar. They don't have heavy cav, but remember their cavalry do get substantial bonuses. And they don't get husbandry, but they do get that civ bonus. No bracer and no plate barding armor. Yep, those are big. And then limited university for sure. Uke unit, no hoarding, sappers. I'll slowly scroll through the rest. Oh, my lordy. That is a painful dock. No banking. Oh, no caravan herds. So this is like not a very team-focused civilization because their team bonus is also on the weak side. And then no farming upgrades. Let's take a look at this. The Chemamol gives a garrisonable structure that can hold up to 5 units. When fully garrisoned, it grants nearby friendly units a bonus to attack and armor and decreases proportionally with less units in it. Additionally, when a unit garrisons inside of one, it slowly regenerates its health. They can be used to train special Mapuche units, the Toki and the Slinger. Okay, that's interesting. So it's an aura building that requires garrisoning, and it can train units and it can heal units up. Very quirky design. Then we have Siege Onager, but no priors. I personally love and no Siege Tower. Thank you. That's a buff. I like it when a line has a late unit, but no earlies. I'm not doing it right now in La Vanilla, but for La Vanguard, I love it. Now we get the uniques. Toki. It is a skilled mounted warrior. Hit and run, speed and agility. Chance to stun enemies. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Okay. Then they have some details on special abilities. Stun attack. Toki attacks have a chance to stun enemies, temporarily reducing their movement and attack speed. I love it. Sick. So it is a hit and run cavalry that can stun people and also gets various buffs from their other unique stuff. Really cool unit. Bolas Rider. Mounted range unit. They clearly are a cavalry archer replacement, but they're more similar to a genitor. They are trash units. Looking at these stats, they have high melee armor, it would seem. Bonus versus buildings and villagers. They are chucking a rock. And anything else. It seems that they are mostly an anti-building unit, unless I'm missing something here. Fast to train, too. Cool. And then more details about the Chemamol. It seems as though there's a slight discrepancy where it does a healing aura now, rather than earlier where it described an armor and attack, I think, thing. Sick. Okay, I think we have a pretty good idea of this civilization at this point. Got an architecture section too, strategy section, strengths and weaknesses, common mistakes and how to avoid them. Awesome. And then a campaign, another campaign, conclusions. Beautiful. I think in terms of presentation and ease of navigation, this document wins. I think in terms of the build, there's a lot of very cool avant-garde stuff. I think the things I like most are the line of sight reducing thing I love. I love playing with line of sight. Would it be hard to implement? Yes. Is it completely unfeasible in the game as of now? Yes. But do I love it? Yes, I love it. Awesome job, Diego. You showed me this build a while ago, and I think it's only gotten better. Let's take a look at chat. Okay. I'm going to blow my nose real quick. Excuse me. Apologies, everyone. For those who do not know, I am still a little bit sick. It's been going around. I have a bloody nose? No. Awesome. Okay. Crossell also adds that formation changing stats is something in Battle for Middle-earth. That is cool. I may also be, Jalarn says, may also be feeling inspired to try and invent a Swiss build centered on the spear line. Generalissimo says RDS for me. Oh, Hoop Thrower's in chat. Hey, buddy. Maximus says this is more extreme than me with detail. Yeah, this presentation is pretty fantastic. Diego, Huge fan of that. This thing is sick. Yeah, damn, this looks well put together. Oh, yes, it certainly does. Generalissimo says, what a wild idea. I like it. Turbo Diego says, OP on Forest Nothing. Doc is depressing. Oh, yeah. Imagine randoming into the Civ on islands. Pain. No, Siege Tower. No. Yeah, thank you. That's a buff. You got it. And Diego says, thanks, Rob. You got it, man. It's an awesome build. And Hoop Thrower adds, Chemamo is basically a tombstone. That's right. Toki translates basically to war chief. And Phoenix adds, if there's an American Civ that deserves to get Cav, it'd be the Mapuche. Couldn't agree more. Awesome build. I really enjoyed this one. The Mapuches are something that we definitely want to be doing on the channel at some point going forward. But you're going to have to wait just a little longer for that one. Maybe I'll do some spoilies later on in the stream. Okay, next build. Tlaxcalans. What an awesome idea. This is submitted by Narrofer. And let's make sure I have it on screen probably. I do. Great. For those who don't know, yeah, the Tlaxcalans were absolutely a distinct cultural and ethnic group. Though, I mean, obviously right now they're just represented by Aztecs. It's much like the Karakitai being represented by Mongols. Kind of silly. But enough of that. Let's jump in. It is an infantry civilization. I got some nice history section. We love that. I wish I had time to read through all of it, but I do not at the moment. I'd highly recommend you all to. Major themes. Campaign. Ooh, I'd never heard of this guy before. Chico Tencatl. Yeah, Chico Tencatl. Something like that. It's cool. Never heard of him before. Some AI player names. Awesome. We love it when people do that. Let's look at the Civ card. Nice looking little thing. Tlaxcalans, infantry civilization. First bonus, all units except siege weapons move 10% faster when they are close to walls. That's a cool idea. I like that. 2, you can build stables and train Xolotl warriors starting from Castle Age and elite Xolotls in Imperial Age. Also makes sense. The Tlaxcalans did work with the Spanish and incoming Europeans a lot more. Supplies and garrisons are twice as effective. That's a sick bonus. Ooh, I like that a lot. That's actually awesome. Oh, it makes sense with the what's the Aztec body suit or like the Mesoamerican bodysuit thing called? Chamali? Chamali, I think it's called, or is that the shield? Well, either way, it's a great reference. I think it's a reference to that. Next, reduce the cost to advance to the next stage by 1% for each enemy killed, up to a maximum of 50%. Wow. That's so cool. Is that good? I don't know, but it's super cool. Unique unit, Atlatl. Slow but long-range unit. Damage is bigger against higher armored opponents. Yep. I can see why you went in that direction. Historically speaking, I feel like it kind of worked almost opposite to that, but like you got to give it something unique to do. Unique text. Teakanitli. Wait. Teakanilitz. Iliztli. There it is. Teakaniliztli. Tough word. Eagle Warriors, Militia Line, Xolotls regenerate 20% of their HP per minute. Solid. And Spanish allies, unlike on research, gunpowder units, and various technologies for cavalry. Nice. Wow. Complete coincidence that this and the Mapuches were back to back. And team bonus, foot archers deal +1 against infantry. Wow, a much more conventional bonus. Seems pretty good too. Maybe even very good. Yeah, so, geez. Let's take a quick look at the rest and then we'll tap back in because a lot of information's already been presented here. That's a pretty icon. I like that. Got the elite Xolotls. They look to be off rip. They look a little... Oh, they have a cheap upgrade cost. That's cool. Off rip, I think they're weaker than Cavalier. Unless I'm missing something. No. They have better attack speed. Or am I tripping? I don't know. Seem comparable to Cavalier, if nothing else. And then... Spanish allies, you receive bloodlines, husbandry, scale mail, chain mail, plate mail. I'm guessing this is barding. Wow, that's actually insane. Hand cannoneers, siege cannon. Wow, and all that for this. That's an insane technology. Tech tree looks like this. No arbs. So I guess the foot archer thing is mostly an early game bonus. No halb. Missing some pretty good dock. They are missing gill nets though. That sucks. And then looks like some. Oh, I see. And then you have the stable, and then you got. Look at the little atlatl guy chilling. Okay, strength analysis. I think I roughly agree with that just on a quick rip, and some loose threads. Nice. Good note that on the loose threads mentioned, is this an infantry civilization? Even if the focus on infantry, I feel like the title is not entirely correct. I can kind of see that, yeah. Nice job at adding some good relevant loose threads there. So just quickly looking at this, the things I wanted to say, I think that supplying gambesons are twice as effective is my favorite La Vanilla style bonus I've seen yet today. Awesome bonus. I think it's very strong, but it's also really flavorful. Assuming you're going for, again, I think it's a Chimali reference. I think that the idea of them being kind of in the Mapuche line of being a meso power that gets cavalry and gunpowder feels appropriate. I think, again, I don't know the history super well, but off rip, I feel like it might be even more appropriate for the Mapuche, but maybe upon researching these guys will be clear that it's otherwise. Moving faster and close to walls is a super interesting bonus. I should note this would probably need to work where each wall segment gives like an aura effect with plus 1% stacking up to plus 10, because otherwise you put individual wall segments in like a big long chain and you just highway your guys along, which is goofy. And that's clearly not the intended purpose. I'd say the reduced cost to advance to the next stage by 1% for each enemy eliminated up to a maximum of 50% is insanely interesting. I don't know how to review that. It seems bad? Maybe? I don't know. It seems cool. I like it a lot. Yeah, I don't even know if it's good, but it's awesome. So I think that's good enough for me. Yeah, honestly, the thing I like least about this build is the team bonus. Because I think the team bonus is actually quite good and might just divert attention away from the cool infantry onto, like, strong Castle Age crossbows. But I could be wrong. And yeah, I think besides that, I feel like the Atlatl's effect, not my personal favorite, but I see why you did it. Having it be long range is cool. Sick. Okay. Great build, Narrowfer. Thank you so much for submitting. This is a great build. I think if we're putting Max's Swiss build in like the beyond l'avant-garde category, like the wow, this is thinking huge category, I'd say this is my favorite of the l'avant-garde, like you might see on my channels. Like all these bonuses look like they'd be on my channel, frankly, especially for my l'avant-garde builds. I think that in terms of the sort of stuff I would have done, this might be my favorite build for today thus far. Really brilliantly done. I like it a lot. Let's take a look at the commentarinos. Okay. This civ seems balanced. Though, says Turbo Diego, though that might have been about the previous. My god, the Tlaxcalans, how beautiful, says Godflesh. One of the biggest contributors to the fall of the Mexica. Yeah, I know. They're super under freaking rated. Turbo Diego asked if that includes enemy walls. No idea. My guess is no. But if so, that's kind of even more interesting. I have no idea. Chimali is the shield. Shit. Okay, well, it's the other one. The bodysuit that they used to wear. Generalissimo says, it's cool that you've gone the offensive. If you forced on the defensive, that bonus couldn't be used much. Shalotl and game are Native American for it's stable. Normally just knight. Yes, I did know that. Need a siege tower civ, says Mr. P. Hell yeah, let's make that thing usable. Gaetano says, Tlaxcalans a solid build, feels like they could be in the game. There's a couple things that feel a little avant-garde to me, but I think that they all the things here feel at least somewhat plausible. Some weird stuff, but good weird. And I think it's really well done. Siege Tower Civilization when? I don't know, man. Someday. Rift Alexa saying giving chemistry and making space for a spare unique tech would give more for the civilization. Could do that. I think that the point was to bundle a whole bunch more than just chemistry in. And I do see the vision for why you put it here. I like the idea. I feel like if you did this on more, like if we had both the Mapuche and the Tlaxcalans in the game, I don't think I'd want both of them to have an unlock tech like that. I think you'd have to choose one because otherwise it kind of makes them, it dilutes their identity. Or rather an unlock tech for stables and gunpowder. If you want to do an unlock tech for something else, knock yourself out. Godflesh says the Tlaxcaltecas adopted Spanish rule pretty fast. I believe it makes sense to have gunpowder and cavalry. Makes sense. Diego says, Turbo Diego says, for upping to Imperial after a castle fight could be pretty good. I agree. I feel like that makes most sense. Crossel says, team bonus doesn't do much in the Cav Archer meta. That's true. I guess I was thinking more feudal fights with men-at-arms and spearmen and shit. Phoenix says, only time I ever seen the Tlaxcalans as a playable thing is in Medieval's 2's American expansion. Oh, I had no idea they had one. And then Eric says, once get rid of a build of the Khazars that gave some bonuses for siege towers. Yeah, I could maybe see it. I think it's a bit of a stretch, but I could see it. Awesome. Well, let's move on to the next one. Are you guys having fun so far? Are you enjoying what you're seeing? Because we are just hitting the halfway point. Yee! There's so much. Again, hoping I can get through as many many builds as possible today. Let's take a look at the next. The next is a rather special one, submitted by Crossel, which is a fictional civilization, the Gondorians. Lord of the Rings, guys. Time to come out of the woodwork. Fortunately, Lord of the Rings, I actually know a decent amount about. I'd say I know more about history than Lord of the Rings, but I've read the Silmarillion. Like, I know what it's about, and I think it's awesome. I really like Lord of the Rings. Let's see what they do. Gondorians, defensive and infantry civ, makes sense. I would maybe add naval. No, I guess Umbar was lost at that point, so maybe not naval. Okay. Version 1.1. Oh, I should slide this over so we can see the whole pres, because this is a pretty presentation. Look how pretty it is. It's awesome. Look at this formatting. Have sources, AoE 2, sick. Some information about the last Dunedain kingdom, sick. Got a map, got history showing the fall of Numenor. Love. Really beautiful presentation. Getting top marks on the presentation. History, Last Alliance of Men and Elves, Golden Age, Rule of the Stewards, War of the Ring. I love it so much. This is so cool. Flavor, we got language, architecture, wonder, and castle. Sick. And then, yeah, architecture, Numenorian. Don't the Incas have that one? And then campaign, Denethor II, of course, but I like the addition of Arnil II. I think that's an awesome pick. Super duper underrated. I think most people have just been like, oh, do Aragorn, but no, this is sick. This is really sick. The Ship Kings, that's cool too. A summary of their characteristics, and now an overview. Look at those civ icons, or look at those unique unit icons. Those are beautiful. Nice, 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 nice. Okay. Civilization Bony. You nerds. First, second town center is free to build in Castle Age. That's cool. I like that bonus a lot, actually. 2, tower and outpost wood cost is removed. That is also really cool. 3, militia line costs less gold, scaling through the ages. Makes sense. 4, market cost to buy stone almost equal to sell cost, so it's easier to buy stone at the market. That's cool. 1 exchange off equal. 5, defenses built and repaired faster, scaling throughout the ages. Nice. Also makes a lot of sense. And team bonus, defensive structures +4, line of sight. That's a great build. That makes a ton of sense. And I can see the defensive for sure. Unique technologies, Southern Fiefs. Great reference. If you know Lord of the Rings, when Denethor, I think it's Denethor, he says, those who shelter behind send much praise but little help. That's in reference to the Southern Fiefs. Barracks units +3, melee armor, ships cost -15% gold. The barrack unit melee armor feels a little random, but makes sense on the civ overall, and the ship cost makes sense. And then Ithilien resistance, a unique building available, and skirmishers +15% movement speed. Cool. Let's take a look at that. Unique units. The Citadel Guard. The Guardian of the Fountain Court. Heavy defensive infantry, very armored. Some anti-cav bonus damage. Fat stats. Wow, look at that armor. Slow as balls. While garrisoning a castle, halves all melee damage the castle receives. That's insane. That means you could stick one of these guys in a castle and it gets way, way tougher. Would that apply to siege? I think it does, because siege, like, trebuchets don't do melee damage. Onagers do. Battering rams do. So it'd help against some siege too. Wow. And then elite upgrade gets some actually pretty good and more speed. Very good stat buffs. Not really that good in combat against other Uber units. That's the Sandy Peterson way of saying it. Capable of clearing melee units and rams near the castle age while withstanding enemy archer fire. Yeah. I mean, I think the stats do scale well into Imperial Age because they get faster, but it's a really cool unit. It's very expensive for an infantry. Obviously, it's like a Teutonic Knight with more utility, and I think it would be a fan favorite. Sick. Sick, sick, sick. Ithilien Rangers. They are an infantry archer hybrid, trained at the archery range in the Ranger Refuge, kind of comparable to a longbowman. 5 attack both modes. It's a mode switcher. Plus 20 versus elephants. Mwah. Lovely. And plus 8 versus siege and melee mode. And they can establish and build ranger refuges. That's so cool. Good versus Oliphants. You sneaky Pete. Yeah, that's awesome. And then Ranger Refuge, capable of training Rangers, Skirmisher Line, Archer Line, Spearman Line. That's really pretty. I like how you use the little waterfall. Very clever. Exclusively by Rangers, must be built within with 5 tree within 2 tiles. Destroying the trees deactivates the building. Oh, I see. I think I see. What a wacky idea. That's so cool, though. God damn. Is it meant to be, like, stealthed as well? Kind of feels like it should. Sick idea. Jesus Christ. And then Tech Tree. They do miss Gambesons. Makes sense. Viable archery range. Mediocre stable. They do miss Hussar, which I think makes sense. And then crop rotation. I might not have made them miss crop rotation. I might have suggested 2-man saw. Yeah, seems cool. Either has Dromon or another alternative for a siege sip. Then strategy, alternative ideas. Excellent. Separate mode. Connection. Man, I don't even know where I'm going to start with this. That's so cool. Likelihood. Let's take a look at this. 0 out of 10. In a dedicated Lord of the Rings game mode, 11 out of 10. Hell yeah. Wow. What a build. We've seen so many incredible builds today thus far. Hope I'm not rambling too much, guys. This one is just kind of blowing my mind. I think this is my build of the day thus far. I keep saying that every single time. Every build you guys send me is so freaking good. But this one, between the presentation, I think the bonuses are really on point. I think that the way that you sourced it and are kind of building your case for it is great. Goddamn. Awesome build. Absolutely awesome build. And yes, I would love to do more fictional builds at some point in future. I want to kind of reestablish myself with La Vanilla first, but what do you guys think? Do you guys want to see me do fictional factions at some point? I think I might put out a poll about it at some point. Okay, let's take a look at chat. Okay. Bjarka talking about the previous build, +1, makes them kill halves and 1 less hit. Nice. Generalissimo says, very fun, Gondorians. People are like, holy moly, this is so cool. Gondor, between the mountains and the sea. I'm sure that's a reference I'm not getting. King's men are their own civilization, says Crossil. That makes sense. Thank you for adding. There was Phoenix talking about earlier, says there's a lot of weirdness with unit rosters for the native factions, Mayan hornet nest throwers, Apacheans sitting in the Mississippians' place. Yeah, I can see what you mean. Joe Lawrence says, aren't the Prince of Dol Amroth the big cavalry segment of the Gondorian army? Yes, I feel like this build is kind of trying to separate them out. Generalissimo says, in fairness, the first time AoE 2 game was in a different setting, Star Wars Galactic Battleground, of course. I actually mentioned that in a suggestions for different DLC people would actually like video I put out a couple months back, where I think that cross IPs within Age of Empires makes a shit ton of sense and would be generally really well received. Generalissimo says, if you ever want to make varied content, get into sci-fi, Galactic Battlegrounds. That's true. I just don't like the Star Wars universe as much. I think it's cool. I think Galactic Battlegrounds is sick. Just doesn't interest me as much. I'm not a big sci-fi guy. I'm much more of a classic fantasy guy. And it's also part of the reason I don't talk as much about AoE 3. I'd like to. But after the Middle Ages, I'm not quite as interested in. in terms of like the overarching tech level and way that history goes at that point. I still do plan on talking about AoE 3 though, for the record. And then Lord of the Rings mods are already a thing as well, says Ola. Yes, that's true. Bjarka says those from Battle of Middle-earth. I think those are caps from Battle of Middle-earth. Generalissimo says Idine, brain rot hitting. Gaetano says you should have a channel just for fantasy theory crafting. Maybe, I could see that. I'm kind of reluctant to split up my channels because I already have a second channel for my tabletop stuff. I prefer to just have one channel that bounces around, even though I know that's kind of punished by YouTube. But we'll see. Phoenix says those are either Battle for Middle-earth. Okay, yeah. Given how low poly there, probably Battle for Middle-earth. Yeah. Jordan says, yeah, third channel might kill him. Precisely. Turbo Diego says it would only have the base melee damage, not the bonus damage of ships. Oh, that's from... Is that from earlier? No, that's from... just here. I can't remember. The builds are blending together. Pardon me. A Forbidden Pool from Battle for Middle-earth. I see. Excellent. Probably stealth, yeah. Crossel says, I would have it in reduce inflicted damage to specifically withhold rams. Okay, so yeah, we are talking about the Fountain Court Guard. That's a new idea. It's super cool. We're getting 9 out of 10, 11 out of 10. I think this is my favorite too. Fantasy Theory Craft. Yes, big. So yeah, this build was amazing. Amazing job. Got a bunch of other questions though. So Godflesh says, what fantasy stories franchise do you like? I like a lot of them. Lord of the Rings, I absolutely love. I fell in love with it because there's a BBC full cast audio drama of Lord of the Rings, 13 hours long. And growing up, I listened to thousands of hours of audiobooks. And I probably listened to that BBC audio drama of Lord of the Rings probably about 50 times, maybe 60. And it made me love Lord of the Rings. And when I read the Silmarillion, that just compounded because it's just mythology, right? And I love mythology. So Lord of the Rings is a big one for sure. I really liked Warcraft, specifically the Warcraft 3 universe. Once I got to World of Warcraft, I didn't play, kind of lost me. But just the fantasy world building of Warcraft 3 in particular, I thought was great. Warhammer, I have a lot of affection for, but it's dumb. But I'm very fond of it, and I painted many miniatures. Fire Emblem, I have a lot of affection for, but it's dumb. Again, although I will say, some parts of Fire Emblem are dumb. The more modern ones, dumb, fun, but they're empty carbs. I enjoy them, but they're not good for me. Whereas, like Fire Emblem 4, adore. Incredible game. Fire Emblem 5, incredible game. I'd say the GBA Fire Emblem games are the ones I played the most. And that, from there and before, I like the Fire Emblem world building a ton. Let's see. And then Magic the Gathering. Particularly, I kind of fell out of love with Magic just after Khans of Tarkir. But for like the original Dominaria Magic the Gathering world building, it was so good. It influenced me so much as a game designer, especially. Pardon the segue. Bjarka says, how about Theorycrafts of fantasy games like Age of Wonders? I have no idea what you're talking about. For those who don't know, I love Age of Wonders. I'm probably going to feature it on the channel at some point. Crossell says, yeah, I had to choose 2 unique units wherein I left out Swan Knights and Dol Amroth. Amrothians could be their own civilization. Completely agree. Jalorn adding to Bjarka, I promised Age of Wonders someday. I have. Generalissimo says, understandable, Galactic Battlegrounds does have quite a few avant-garde shenanigans. That's the thing I like most about it. I think the mechanics are awesome, and I love how it pushes the game. I just am not as interested in, like, the coat of paint over it, you know? Factions can garrison herdables, technologies that improve gather rate. Yeah, I love that shit. Jalorn says, here's a shout-out for the Discord server. If you're not there with us, you should be. It's a great place. Couldn't agree more. We have a great Discord. You guys are awesome. And then Bjarka and Jalorn are talking. Yeah, you guys together make Bjorn. But Bjarka and Jalorn are talking more about Age of Wonders. Phoenix says, same with me on the Warcraft stuff. Just don't have time for MMOs. Bingo. Hoop Thrower says, Warcraft 3 faction theory crafting, let's go. Someday I would consider it. Again, I want to like establish myself a little more, but I do really want to branch off into other games in future and do like full theory crafting and stuff for them. Both for RTS and maybe other games as well. Godflesh says, come to enjoy the early modern period. There's a lot to like about it. Could not agree more that there's a lot of fascinating topics. Age of Discovery, 30 Years of War, Enlightenment, Napoleonic. Hell yeah. Sick. There's a lot to like about it. And I think that once I start to dive into it deeper, I will like it a lot more. When I am doing fantasy role-playing, I find that I actually often tend to avoid the Middle Ages. And I think it's because I feel it's overdone in many ways. But I still reference it a lot. I just often move into gunpowder eras myself because I find that for fantasy world building, at least, it makes for more vivid, conducive worlds in many ways, but not universally. And of course, you can blend the tech tree such that like an otherwise primitive faction somehow has gunpowder. There's a lot you can do with fantasy. Likelihometer says Black Bellator. For the Gondorians, I'm going to say a 20. Generalissimo says there's so much to do with the minor human kingdoms or the orc clans alone. Oh yeah, absolutely. Godflesh says, do you enjoy Warhammer 40k? I do not. Again, I'm not a big sci-fi guy. The only sci-fi franchise I have ever... well, there's two, really. I love Halo, but not really for the world building. I love everything from Halo Reach and previous and earlier besides ODST. But again, it's not really a world building thing. But I think the world building is cool. And the other sci-fi that I like is I love the original Dune. I read the first Dune book probably a couple dozen times. The sequels are garbo. And I don't know if the new movie is any good, but the original books were incredible. Other than that, not a big sci-fi guy. Joe Lawrence says, Khans of Tarkir was the height of magic for me. Though I'm mostly disconnected due to ending my time at college, no longer having a community. So disappointed where it's gone then. Yeah! Couldn't agree more. Magic the Gathering is something I rant about a lot to my friends who still play. Maybe I'll do it. If you guys want to see a video of me complaining and whinging about Magic the Gathering, as my descriptions in such videos say, love me a good whinge. Black Bellator says Middle Earth is epic. Hell yeah. Godflesh says, I remember you like Diablo. Diablo 2 is such a great game. Yes, I love Diablo 2. Again, I think the world building is not what draws me to Diablo 2, but I think it has good world building. It's just not like large scale world building. It does such a great job telling a concentrated story, which does kind of make it hard to riff on. Like, I don't know how I would do theory crafting for a Diablo game. Whereas I do feel like I know how I do theory crafting for a Fire Emblem game, for example. Bjark says steampunk fantasy is great. I'm not a tremendous fan, but I have used it many times. I think there's a lot to like. Ola says, what about A Song of Ice and Fire? I have never read it or engaged with it in any way. I had a lot of friends who were very into it, and I am a bit of a contrarian, so I said I'm not going to get into it. Seems I have a good friend who loves it to death. My wife thinks it's pretty good. Just not my thing. It's, from what I understand, it's really gritty and kind of gory. And I'll be honest, I have a very low tolerance for gore in media. Which might seem weird because I like Diablo too, but I don't know. We are inconsistent creatures. Have you ever played the Dune games? In general, Lisa also recommends Dune Spice Wars. I've never played any Dune game. I could maybe see doing it. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know if I can get into another RTS right now. And Godflesh adds about Diablo. I love the cinematics. The horror atmosphere filled me with dread when I was a kid. Yes, I'll be honest. I love Diablo. I have never managed to get through one of the cinematics, or all of the cinematics in full, because they are too gory for me. Especially the Act 5 one. I know, I'm sure that makes me a little baby, but I have a very low tolerance for gore. Eric says, have you played Magicka? I watched my friends play Magicka. It also can get a little gory, but I think it's very funny, and it's a cool game. Bjarka says, I don't like how gory, explicit A Song of Ice and Fire is either. Yeah, it's a me thing. Not my thing. Funnily enough, outside of tabletop games. In tabletop games, I don't care at all. Enough chat, let's continue. Yeah, I get it. I agree. Apologies, guys. We got sidetracked. That's what happens when a fantasy faction comes up. Okay, let's move on to a build by Celtic Keeper. If you're in the Discord, you have seen Celtic Keeper around. He posts these absolutely mammoth builds. Take a look at, first of all, look at this beautiful outline. It's lovely. I love a good outline. But now, take a look over here. You see my little, the little scroll bar right here? 1 out of 380 pages. That's a big boy. That's incredible, too. I think Celtic Keeper's level of detail is really commendable, but unfortunately, I don't have the ability to go through it all. And so if you want to explore Celtic Keeper stuff, I have shared them in the document, of course, as well as everyone else's if you haven't heard me say so yet. And I'm just going to focus on the Cypress build that he mentions in this Custodians of the Cross DLC proposal. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, but let me scroll down through all the awesome flavor to the bloody build. Okay. Unique unit, Crusader Baron, knightly infantry that gains 10 HP for every enemy house within line of sight, and 20 HP for every friendly house within its line of sight. Gains 3 attack when in line of sight of a monastery. And then also has a whole bunch of like tertiary effects from like additional things that Celtic Keeper has added to the game. Changing HP dynamically is very risky to do. If you've played Hearthstone, you know why. And so I'm not sure I agree with changing HP dynamically. I could see something more like gain HP on creation based on how many houses are near the castle, something like that. But I think the core idea is really cool. Some shared units, Templar Knight, Hospitaller Knight. The Hospitaller Knight can heal, the Templar Knight can convert. Both gain bonuses when near a relic or a church containing relics, and gain bonuses from monastery technologies. Do extremely little damage to enemy villagers. I think that's a great touch. And then a bunch of other civilizations also get them. And they can be upgraded as such. Unique technology. In Castle Age, fortified churches. Nice. For the defense of Christendom. I think that's cute. Your churches gain more armor, more HP, and can garrison crossbowmen. That's cool. I actually like that a lot. Imperial advanced trebuchet tactics. It's Cataparuto. You know, I don't actually hate that. I actually feel like a crusade-based civilization is more worthy of the Cataparuto effect, which is, again, one of the stupidest technologies in the game from a history standpoint. So, yeah, getting Cataparuto off the Japanese sounds like a great frickin' idea. Especially because he proposes Iko Iki as a replacement technology, which is super cool. Civ bonus 1. And again, I love when people name civilization bonus. Fishers of Men. Every created monastery increases fishing ship gather rate by 5% up to 5 times. Whoa, that's really strong. I guess it's Cypress, so that makes sense. Cool idea. Really interesting idea. Makes for a big Castle Age fish boom. Interesting. Okay, bonus 2. Town Watch and Town Patrol increase garrisoned foot archer range. Wow. And attack for the latter. That's wild. Okay, that's... Oh, Jesus. I don't even know how to think about that. Cool idea. Every captured relic increases archer and infantry armor by 1. I don't know if that's melee or pierce armor, but I'm assuming it's not both. Civ bonus 4. Oh, no more names for these. Boo. Town centers have a small added stable connected to it that allows you to garrison your cavalry and heal them. Ah, nice. I want to play with garrisoning cavalry in town centers. I've done so in previous builds, might do so again. In chemistry, increases the blast damage radius of demo ships. Nice. Give a little favor to the very underused, for good reason, demo ship. Team bonus, every captured relic increases monk and knight training speed by 10%. Solid. That makes a lot of sense too. And then something that Celtic Keeper loves to do is historical ally bonuses. So if you're allied to a certain civilization, you get like share a special benefit. Really interesting. And then a whole basket of other stuff. Source images galore. Jeez, it's so cool. And also some tech tree notes as well. So Celtic Keeper's work is very dense. There's a lot of images. There's a lot of information. But I think that having looked through and kind of sifted through to find the build, it's a cool build. I think the core idea of kind of a defensive archer navy-ish civilization that has some adjacent monk and other benefits, and as well as some armor bonuses, it's cool. Again, it's one of those like a little of everything designs. I don't know enough about Cypress to say whether it's accurate, but it feels appropriate. And I think my favorite part about the whole build is the emphasis on garrisoned archers, as well as giving a trebuchet-based, or taking Cataparuto off the Japanese. So, yeah, really cool build. What do you guys think about this one? Let's take a look at shot. Okay. Gore depends on the medium, so God bless. Crossell says, oh, I know this guy. He has massive DLC listings. Yes, he does. He has... Celtic Keeper is the gigantic DLC guy. And I gotta say, especially the images that he finds, really good stuff. Black Bellator says, I literally play Gondorians at Middle-earth Tabletop. Okay. Jaloran is talking about Gore and Song of Ice and Fire from earlier. Black Bellator says Cypress was independent. I don't know if it was. I think it might have been independent, but I cannot remember, if I'm honest. I know it was conquered a bunch of times. I know the Byzantines held it for a long time. But I would want to dive into it before I say anything in that regard. The Generalissimo talking about Hearthstone, dreading the Druid tourist. Warrior having ramp is terrifying. Yeah, I stopped playing Hearthstone a little while ago, but it was a fun game to follow. Turbo Ego says, I like the concept of annex buildings. I completely agree. I think that's a sick idea. And Black Bellator says it's like a Crusader state. Yeah, it seems to be mostly a Crusader adjacent sort of build. Eric says it finds Celtic Keeper's build to be a little much. It is a lot of information. I think that the fact that he has an outline really helps. And I think that with a little more presentation focus, like a lot of you guys have done, it would be a lot easier to navigate. But again, once you can navigate through, there's some really good stuff to find there. I like it a lot. 10 out of 10 says Black Bellator. Awesome. Jaloran says Cypress was in and out of Roman control for a time after the Fourth Crusade. Yeah, I feel like I remember it being independent for a little while. But love the unique unit. Yeah, I think it's a sick unique unit too. Okay. Awesome build, Celtic Keeper. Thank you for the submission. Let's move on to the next build, this time by Saracen Warlord, called the Papal States. Jeez, excuse me. That time wasn't because I was sick. That time because I was dumb. Okay. Make sure it's on screen. It is not. There we go. Jeez. Pardon me, guys. Okay, let's talk Papal States before I die. I have been suggested and thought about doing Papal States build myself for a while. And the first thing I will say before anything else is look at this ensign. That's really nice. Like, it's not exactly conventional like we see right now, but it's very eye-catching. I think it's really cool. Even though I think red and gold is overused, still gets my seal of approval. Great ensign. Got a really nice, concise overview history sort of section, some nice flavor stuff, campaign notes, also links to where the civilization might make appearances in, I'm guessing on the wiki. AI player names, awesome. And look at this, guys. A civilization theme. I don't have my audio interface for like a desktop audio linked up, but definitely click onto this build and take a listen to this. It's I believe it's a full choir performance, and it's quite pretty from what I remember when I clicked on it earlier. So we put in a Civ theme. Awesome. Saracen Warlord. Nicely done, man. Major themes. Excellent. And an overview. First, town centers spawn a monk when reaching a new age. Starts in feudal, and feudal monks can't pick up relics and have longer conversion times. Great. Really, really clean. Monasteries only cost 100 wood and add 10 population space. That's a great bonus too. Monks can heal siege units. That makes sense a lot. He even notes here, monks from papacy spent time blessing trebuchets and honors. That's actually something I do too. That's a great idea. Wow, that's so freaking cool. It's not like super strong, but it's good and it's cool. And then can build the Basilica in Castle Age. Expensive unit, or building rather. No attack, adds 15 pop space. And when it's built, you pick a nation to ally with, so their unique units will be available to be trained from the Basilica. You have the options of Teutonic Knight and Hussar, Throwing Axe and Couturier, Genoese Crossbowman and Sergeant, Organ Gun and Conquistador. And other players get a notification. Wow. And then you have access to the Condottiero. Their unique technologies are Lateran Palace, which upgrades monks to bishops, giving them more HP, armor, movement speed, and better conversion time. That's a strong frickin' monk bonus. And then the Cohors Helvetica, or it might be Helvetica if it's Latin, Train papal guards from barracks. Spawn 10 papal guards from the researching castle. I kind of referenced this on my Swiss build as well. Swiss pikemen were, and like Swiss mercenaries were a big part of the papal guard. Team bonus, villagers resist conversion. Makes total sense. Probably will not come up very much. I think this is probably the weakest part of the build. I might suggest a much stronger team bonus, because it's like not quite a completely inferior Teuton bonus, because I think it gives a better buff, but villagers are not converted super often. Unique unit, Papal Guard. It is a trash unit. Resists anti-infantry and anti-spearmen bonus damage. That's awesome! So it's a cataphract spear with heavy armor. What a cool frickin' that's so clean. Tech tree. You can see all sorts of... I'm not going to go through all of it, but you get a summary. And then in playstyle, conclusion, and then some pretty images at the bottom. Wow, what a great build. This is a fantastic build. And frankly, the only thing that kind of pushes it into l'avant-garde territory is the Basilica idea, which I think is actually implementable for the record. Might be a little fussy, though. Geez, where to even start with this one? So I think that the spawning a monk thing is great. And the general way that they've done monk, that Saracen Warlord has done monk focus with spawning monks, healing siege, and then the Lateran Palace, great. Really, really nicely done. I think that the unique unit is sick. I wish I'd thought of that myself. And I think that the monastery bonus makes a lot of sense. My guess is that the civilization is maybe a little weak because it doesn't have a good eco bonus. It kind of has to use monks to supplement eco bonuses, which is fine. But I think it's extremely creative. It has great l'avant-garde and la vanilla ideas. That's awesome. This is one of my favorite builds we've seen today. This is cute. Playstyle, Dark Age, peaceful as prayers. That's adorable. Awesome build. This is a sleeper right here. I like a lot of this. And the fact that on top of all those great decisions, you also have a great ensign. And on top of that, you have a civilization theme included. There's a lot to like. What do you think, chat? What do you think about this one? Let's take a look. Okay. Oh, the papacy. This will be fun. I'd like a civ with more references to the Crusades, says Eric. Agree. Jalarian says, you ain't dumb. That one's on whoever decides sticking their hair hole next to the nourishment hole was a good idea. Yeah. Hoop there says the Papal States. No! Anything but that. I was trying to come up with a clever retort to Papal States, but I couldn't. Eric says, I always appreciate when civs have their own theme. Completely. AoE 3 icons. Actually the style looks like AoE 3. Amazing option for a spear unique unit. Disappointed never thought of it. Couldn't agree more. Great idea for unique technology. Like to upgrade the monk. Good idea to add regional monks to the game. A lot of flexibility to this civilization with access to a bunch of different unique units. Besides the Basilica, pretty conventional, might be my favorite, says Eric. Maybe could add some Crusader bonuses, says Black Bellator. There's a lot of great options here, yeah. You could make a terrifying Siege and Monk push for this civilization. I agree. I feel like Siege and Monk push is the way you need to play this civ. Bjarka says, I like the Papal Guard. It would be fun to use. Yeah, this is a great civ. Top 3 for me, for sure. Awesome job, Saracen Warlord. Thank you so much for the submission. Thank you to everyone in chat. I hope you're enjoying the stream thus far. And I think we're rounding the bend on the last 3. I'm going to try to get through all of them. I'm going to try my best. Let's move on. Croatians, or Croats, depending on how you prefer. I don't know what's more appropriate. This one is by Apocalypso and has a whole lot of excellent information up front. Apocalypso also has a YouTube link. Go sub if you'd like. Let's take a look here. Oh, nice. It has 1 page of context, and let's jump straight into civilization bonuses. Okay. Receive 1 free fishing ship after building the first dock. Requires a town center, so you can't do it immediately on Nomad. Okay, yeah. From what I understand about Croatia, it has a huge influence in the fishing industry. Yeah, right here. History of tuna fishing dates back to ancient times. Yeah, makes sense. I like it. Next, barrack, stable, and dock units cost, or unit upgrades Cost between -10 and 25%, scaling through the ages. That's an interesting one. Would that be good? I think it's good. I think it's a little on the mellow side, but makes sense to me. Also means that you can hang out till late game and have a little bit more help with tech switching if you were only focusing on one of the above, or started with archers, for example. Focusing on Tomislav's army comp. Lumber camp upgrades increase lumberjack carry capacity by 2 each. Nice. I think that's good. As he specifies here, this bonus makes lumberjacks marginally more efficient, though the actual effect is fairly minimal. I completely buy that. It's due to the woodworking industry. I like these justifications. These are solid justifications. I think this is a nice understated bonus. I think it's maybe a little on the weak side. I might have it scale by age. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on age. Land units take -25% damage while within 8 tiles of a town center. That's great. Makes a lot of sense. I don't know if that is implementable at this stage, but something like it almost certainly is. Reference to 12 noble tribes of Croatia. Nice, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And team bonus, knights +3 attack versus monks. Doesn't reference anything. Gives knights, makes them marginally better against one of their better counters. I can see it. I feel like it's a little underwhelming myself, especially given how many civilizations don't have access to knights, but I can see the direction, if nothing else. Maybe there's a way to make it a little bit better. Great. I think these are solid bonuses. They're nice and understated. It makes for a rather economic-focused faction. But I think neither of these eco bonuses are screaming strong to me. They seem solid. I think probably the best raw power bonus on the build. I don't know. They're all pretty mild. I think it might be a little on the weak side, but again, that's my guess. Unique unit is the Banus, heavy cavalry wielding a lance. Trades attack for armor. Costs less than a knight. Long time to train. Very bad attack, but enormous base HP. Oh god, they also have 5 melee and pierce armor. Jesus. So it's designed to take a beating, but it's slow for cavalry, even slower than a boyar. Best used in pitched battles. Okay, yeah. Cool idea. I've tried to do damage sponge cavalry before. That's kind of what I was going for in the Pishi on my recent Khitans build. This seems appropriate. I don't know enough about the history to say whether it's accurate, but I think it would probably have a niche. I feel like on average, especially in competitive games in general, playing defensive is almost always worse than playing offensive, but maybe this has struck the right balance. I don't know. 180 base HP and 5 base melee and pierce armor is very, very good. If nothing else, maybe it would make it more of a base eater, because you can just ignore castle fire. I don't know. I'm saying that a lot today. Sorry, guys. Unique techs. Zupani, which gives barracks units and Bani +3 attack versus archers. Seems like a pretty conventional bonus. Plus, infantry plus attack versus archers is good in trash fights for spear versus skirm matchup. And for your heavy cavalry dude, it will let them chew through archer balls better. Seems appropriate. I know what a Zupan is, and I don't know if this is a super fitting effect, but you do what you can sometimes. And then unique tech 2, Condura. It pretty expensive. It costs the galley line to cost -30%. And so it's a more expensive shipwright, slightly stronger, but I will note it doesn't decrease their training rate. It's very expensive too. And so it does make their galleons really cheap, which is very nice and spammable. And the Condura, that's actually really interesting. Apparently Condura might be related to the word gondola. That's so interesting, yeah. And yeah, I've heard of the Condura ship before. I think when I watched the Jacqueline Eno Tomislav campaign, she had the Condura as a dock unique unit. So good show to reference it. Quick scroll through the tech tree. Strong archery range. No halb and no gambesons. No halb sucks. That's a shame. Stables seem fine, pretty average. Siege, missing siege onager. Dock, missing shipwright and heavy demo. Monks, missing redemption. Oof. Blacksmith, missing a couple armor upgrades. University, no siege engineers. Economy, no guilds. Shaft mining. Interesting. I'd say this is a very mellow build. It's understated. It's trying to... I think that my guess, Apocalypse, if you're out there, you can let me know. It feels like you were really trying to make absolutely damn sure it wasn't overpowered. And that's respectable. That's a very respectable goal. Can't relate. No, that's not true. I've reformed, promise. Yeah, I think it's a nice understated civilization that I think feels like it could exist in the game. I do worry that it's on the weak side. And there's a few things I don't really agree with the justification for, but there's a couple things I really like. I'd say my favorite one on this is the free fishing ship and the lumberjack carry capacity thing. Especially if that's scaled, I think it would be a really cool economy bonus. Let's see what chat thinks. What do you guys think about this one? Venetians would be a cool civilization. Couldn't agree. Anarcho-Trasher, I've done a build for them as well. Crossel says Croats is ethnic, Croatians is national, so it should be Croats. I am back, says Max. Good to see you back. Eric says I like damage sponge units. I think a lot of people do too. Bjarka says a Castle Age Knight with 2 attack upgrades can now kill a monk in 2 hits. That's pretty good. I see. Yeah, that is pretty good. Matroid says, hi, Robbie. Good to see you too, Matroid. Crosshill says, while I know Tomislav is the choice character for a campaign, I think King Zvonimir, I think, is of particular note due to his alleged curse. Wow, that sounds cool. I gotta do my research on that before I speak to that, but sounds sick to me. Man, I'm coughing so much. Excuse me, guys. All right. Apocalypso, thank you again for submitting the build. It's great to see it, and I hope to tackle the Croats at some point myself as well. Next, the Palestinians by Anzu. This is a recraft of my Outre-Marin build, trying to go for a name that also represents kind of the local Palestinian, Syrian, Armenian, and Greek populations, considered Levantines and Outre-Marin. But it still seems to be intended to fill kind of the same role. So let's take a look at bonuses. Anzu, if you know him from my Discord, has a great analytical mind for Age of Empires. And as you can see, each bonus has this much explanation, which is kind of awesome. First bonus, and they're named, which I love. Olive groves. Farms have 900 food, but cost 80 wood, and have minus 50% hit points. Wow. Replaces mill upgrades. I see. You will have significant resource savings from skipping mill upgrades and not needing to reseed as often, but your farming economy will be more vulnerable. Primary crop of historic Palestine. That's a really interesting bonus. Huh. I would never have thought of that. Farms having less hit points is such a cool idea. Like this core thing, you could have just had the bonus be that and left it there, and I think it would have been too strong. This makes it so interesting. It's obviously also harder to set up early game too, so there's a lot of nuance to this one. Really cool. Next bonus. Pilgrims. Relics and castles increase training speed and reduce training costs. For every relic captured, all units train in 2% less time and cost 2% less. For each castle standing, both effects are increased by 1%. Stacks up to 5 relics and 5 castles for a maximum effect of 15% less train time and 15% fewer resources required. Ships and siege do not benefit. Wow. That's very interesting. I'm guessing the tech tree has major holes to compensate for that. Makes them very snowbally. Feels very Crusadian appropriate. You guys notice, all Crusade builds. Gotta do something with castles, gotta do something with relics, and for good bloody reason. Next, Pioneering Siegecraft. Siege Engineers and Heated Shot are free. Mangonel line units damage increased against ships. All other units increased by 10%. Rams cost 50% less gold. Siege towers cost... Whoa! Holy hell, there's a ton of stuff all bundled into this sucker. Wait a second, did I screw something up here? No, it just does all of that. Holy hell. That seems insane. That by itself makes this civilization a siege civ. Yeah, Anzu, I'm surprised by you. You normally do much more conventional stuff like this. This is cool and avant-garde-ish. I think altogether this is a really strong section of set of benefits. Mangonel line dealing more against other, like 10% more against all units and more against ships is already good. Siege Engineers free is already good. Heated shots, whatever. Rams costing less gold is alright. Siege towers costing no gold is irrelevant. But Siege Engineers free plus Mangonel line 10% stronger against all units. That's an awesome bonus. Very powerful. Kingship through Conquest. In Regicide game mode, kings have double HP and behave as captured relics for the purposes of the unique technologies. Ah, love it. It's goofy, it's interesting, but it's actually really fun and appropriate. And I do wish that other game modes got a little more love. Yeah, they're often dumb, but we can make them less dumb by giving them more support. Team bonus, Holy Land. Relic, Wonder, and Monument victories count down 20% faster. Relics count as captured while they are being carried for the purposes of gold generation, relic victory, and the unique technologies. That's this part, relics count as captured while they're being carried. Such a cool idea. It's very mild, but since the rest of the civilization supports relics so much, and I'm guessing it also applies to this bonus, the Pilgrims bonus as well. Sick idea. I love the support for alternate game modes too. Unique technologies. In Castle Age, you get hospitals. Captured relics heal nearby units with 10 tiles, and it also benefits if garrisoned in a monastery. Stacks up to 3 times in a single unit. Yeah, solid. Makes total sense to me. Any questions? I don't think so. And then Imperial Age, Divine Inspiration. All units near a relic gain 1 of every kind of armor, including bonus damage. Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, you gotta have something about carrying relics. I didn't, because I'm stupid, but and also because I don't think possible to implement right now. Maybe, but something like this makes a lot of sense. I don't think I would call it Divine Inspiration personally. That feels kind of Age of Mythology-ish, but core idea, like it a lot. And they also have unique units, Pilgrim Caravan, a support unit costing a lot of wood and gold. Expensive, slow as hell, siege weapon, no attack. It can garrison monks, villagers, kings, and relics. Faster with villagers, so it's like a ram. Affected by monk upgrades, town watch, town patrol. Counts as a human unit, but was repaired rather than healed. I see. It is meant to be like a relic armored car, so that you can bring relics into battle for the for the benefits of your various abilities, and that actually plays into the relics kind of captured while being carried thing too. Sick. That's a great idea. I will say, though, I think they're too weak. Especially for this gold cost, I think they should have much higher HP at the very least. And also they have massive line of sight. Can shuttle things around, though they are kind of slow. Intended to be less vulnerable to light cavalry and eagles. Intentionally very slow. As a trivia note, a trebuchet without chemistry can one-shot this unit when elite, while a trebuchet with chemistry we'll just leave it at 1 HP. Wouldn't you know it? Not happy with the name. You could call it, well, I mean, Feriders were what you called relic bearers, right? So you could call it a Ferider caravan, maybe. Am I wrong about that? I think overall the only change I'd make is I would make it tankier, like Ramish, because it can't fight and it's pretty expensive. And while ferrying relics is good, this is vulnerable enough, I think it would be a little too risky. That's my guess, though. Architecture, unique olive grove skin, castle, wonder, language, tech tree. Let's see what they're missing. Full. Empty. Missing bomb. This is an incredibly strong tech tree. Like, this is insanely strong. I don't know. I feel like they might want to have more holes. Maybe for trash units or something? But then, being Anzu, huge game plan, talking about all the cool things you can do. A nice fat summary. And look at all these great loose threads. Is the tech tree too open? I would say it is, personally. Is 2 relic R's a bit much? I don't think so. Are the farms underpowered? I do not think so. Look at all this assessment. This is incredible. The sort of shit I do not do. And let's see. King to be also considered having their king be a fighter. That's cool. My God. All right. Wow. What a build. Super in-depth, fantastic analysis, a nice blend of La Vanilla and La Avant-Garde. Very strong. I feel like this belongs in an iteration of the game where civilizations have higher power. But what do you guys think, chat? What do you think? Let's take a look. Eric said, not much of a fan of Civ that does too much for you to keep track of. Generalissimo says, Olive Grove got a lot going for him. Unsure if too good, might need some tests to see if too much or too little. Completely agree. Relic-focused civilization, and Bjarka says, I like how all the relic bonuses fit together. Makes it worthwhile to bring them to the front line, even if it's risky. Yes, I think that my favorite part about the civilization is how much it actually supports bringing relics to the front line, which is great. All right, guys, we are down to the bottom 3. A drink. Let's see if I choke myself this time. Success. The Romano-British by Board RG. This is a interesting one because it's talking about... I should note, Board RG notes, not English, not first language. And from what I understand, this is meant to be at either the very, very early scale of the AoE 2 time frame, or even before the AoE 2 time frame a little bit. Talking about Britain under and just after Roman rule. So a whole bunch of great history section right here. But let's get to the general overview. Again, I encourage you guys to read through at your own leisure later on. Or now. First bonus. Villagers have more armor. Nice. Nice and conventional. 2. Forts can be built in the feudal age. Earlier castle, costing much less, 50% less health, unable to build a unique unit, but capable of holding 20 population, can be upgraded to castle, and castle support 40 population. My fear is that it being able to shoot at full power early on will be too much sauce. But I do love the idea of feudal age castles and similar. They're just a tricky beast. Core idea makes sense though. More civilizations should have something like this. Cavalry gain a 15% movement speed when near friendly economic building. What an interesting bonus. I don't know, is that good? I think it's probably good, or at least probably okay. I wonder what that's in reference to. I'm sure he says it later, or maybe he says it earlier, but I want to make sure I don't spend too much time. Each garrisoned relic provides an alternating amount of armor increase. The first gives +1 melee, second gives +1 pierce to the knight line, and the Grail Knight, maximum of 4 relics. So if you get 4 relics, your knights and your unique Grail Knights have +2/+2 armor. Seems strong, seems appropriate. Unique units. They get the Legionary, same as the Romans. And then they get Grail Knights. Powerful defensive cavalry, which gains attack and proximity to villagers. Tanky, very high attack. Good armor, and up to more with relics. Slow, really cheap. When upgraded to elite, they get even more. Villager bonus is increased. Wow, that seems really busted. Yeah, between having very high attack and very high HP and being cheaper than a knight and having more armor, yeah, I don't know if I see the downside with this one. I feel like you need to make the pros and cons of the unit more distinct. Also, maybe I'm goofing around. Is this Grail like Holy Grail? I don't know if historically that was necessarily a thing, but I think that for like the vibes-based design it could work. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear the justification behind some of these mechanics. And I do think that on paper as of now, I think it's way too strong. That's fine though. You can make too strong stuff. I've certainly done it plenty of times myself. Then they have the drone one as well. Nice. Unique text. Gemitus Britannorum, which gives all cavalry, including the Grail Knight, 20 hit points per minute healing while near villagers, forts, and then forts and castles also act as drop points and can produce villagers, and legionaries can build forts. Wow, Jesus Christ, that's a ton. Yeah, this does a lot. The healing thing by itself would definitely not be worth the cost. As for a castle age unique technology, this thing is really expensive. Forts and castles acting as drop points and producing villagers is something... I mean, I did something kind of similar in my Ketons build, of course, but I agree that effect by itself is too weak. Legionaries building forts is also very cool and fitting. all these together, I think, I don't know, seems like a lot, but it is very expensive. What do you guys think? And then Sarmatian Auxilia. Do they really have Sarmatians in Britain? Wow. And then cavalry units gain plus 10% movement speed. Wait, do they get husbandry? They do. Oh, Jesus. So these are going to, especially when you're near eco buildings from this bonus, these are going to be race car cavalry. That seems very strong. Then team bonus, monasteries can be garrisoned by military units, allowing them to be healed. It's affected by herbal medicine. You know, I like that. That's really solid. Makes a lot of sense and very nice and understated. Okay. Tech tree. What do they miss? No arbs, no cavalry archer. Missing a bunch of barracks stuff in terms of champ and halb. Only have knights, but they do have hussars and bloodlines and husbandry. And then they have only battering ram, and then siege onager, heavy scorp. Oh, missing leather archer armor. Oof. And plate mail armor, so really is a cavalry civ. And no demo ship, full fast fire ship, galleon, dromon, and missing all dock technologies. That hurts. Pretty mediocre university. No petard. Nice. That's a buff. No block printing. Stone chef mine, banking, guilds. Okay. Awesome. And so that is a summary of this Romano-British build. This is an interesting one. I'm not sure how to feel about it. I think that the idea of having a Romano-British faction is great. I think it makes a lot of sense. There are some bonuses I really like. I think this one, I don't know what the justification is, but the core idea I think is cool. Make your villagers harder to raid. Seems fun. I think the team bonus is my favorite part about this build. And the fact that it also gets legionaries and dromons I think is really cool. Garrison relics giving armor to heavy cavs seems interesting. The fort could work, but definitely is a little spooky. And then the things that I'm not as much a fan of are the cavalry stacking movement speed to hell and back. There's definitely ways to do it right. I think that this by itself is fine, but I think this is too much. I think that the Gemitos Britannorum has too much sauce going on, but I think that a lot of the individual ideas are cool. I think my biggest problem is the Grail Knight unique unit. I think it's just way too strong and doesn't feel like it has a great identity. Like, if it had really doo-doo attack, like 7 or 8 attack, and each nearby villager gave it +1 up to a maximum of 17, that sounds pretty freaking cool. But as is right now, this is like the best unit in the game, bar none. So I think that by making its downsides more apparent, I would personally like it a lot more. That being said, really cool build. It definitely made me think a lot. And again, there are some elements of it that I really love. I think, again, the monastery bonus is very good. I really enjoy that one. Let's see what you guys think. Okay, oh, it's Anzu. The idea with the super wide tech tree is that you have a lot of options for human units, but they are all generic, and the pilgrim bonus is something that you need to actively maintain. Yep, that's true. I can see it. I'd worry they would be a little too versatile, and I think it also might... Well, is that true? The civilization has a lot going on with it, so I think that is quite a good cornerstone bonus, but on top of a lot of the other stuff they have, I think it might be too much sauce, especially because their siege is also really good. Just my opinion, though. My objective opinion. It's a lot of glass legs. Yeah, I see what you mean. More use of relics is needed. Generalissimo. This is based on the thing that I mentioned in my comment back in the Roman video of the Romano-British being a better civilization than the Romans itself. The idea of the movement speed is based on the base of the Romano-British forced into a constant defensive state and had to move everywhere to defend their land. Nice. Yeah, okay. Oh, nice. Okay, so same guy. Hey there, Board RG. Good to see you. Didn't know this was the name you went by under YouTube. I think that makes sense. I think that movement speed bonus by itself, I like quite a lot. I think that when you add onto it another flat movement speed bonus on top of husbandry, I think it's too much zoom. That gives them the highest speed cavalry in the game, even without the economic building thing, which might just be too much. Crossel says Grail Knights are a Bretonian unique unit. Eric says villagers having more armor in Dark Age feels too strong, has too much douche potential. Maybe. I don't know if I'd be as worried about that, though. It's not an offensive bonus after all. The Incan one had... they got benefited by attack upgrades too, didn't they? Or am I tripping? For the Lady of the Lake! Generalissimo says, as for the vibe and the civilization, the idea was based on going around more towards the truth behind the myth of Arthurian legend. Ah, okay. That's cool. I definitely see that better now. Sarmatian Auxilia? That would be the one I'd be most curious about, like, grounding-wise on that. I think if that's the vibe you're going for, I see what you mean. I still think the Grail Knight is overpowered. Cool ideas, though. Jalorn says, based on a cursory search, some etymology, I'd wager that while the Arthurian legends are anchored in Romano-British traditions, the Grail itself is a Norman addition. Maybe. I'm actually not sure about that one. Grails and cups in general have been a sacred symbol in the British Isles for quite a long time. I'd be surprised if that was... There's probably elements of it that are Norman imports, but I'd be very surprised if the entirety of it was a Norman import. Yeah. As for the Grail Knight, really debated personally on the cost a lot. In hindsight, might increase the gold cost by 20 more. Fort attack, definitely something I would be reduced a lot more, but my worry is that on the tech tree, which some weak barrack, archery, and stable is very weak. I'll admit, as an AoE 3 player, I don't have AoE 2. I don't know what I'm most in tune with. That's totally fine. I'd say the big thing with the Grail Knight is I think that the core idea is cool. I think that you want to emphasize the strengths and weaknesses more by... I would focus on the attack. Have the attack be dog shit. And then if you have a bunch of villagers nearby, you can make it enormous. Because the Knight line has 10 attack. And this is cheaper than the Knight, has more HP, and is heavy armored. Or heavier armored. It has less speed, but it also has 60% more attack, which is, I think, way too much. But if you make it so that the attack starts way lower and you have to build up to it with villagers, that I think would work quite well. And yeah, for someone who doesn't know Age of Empires 2, this is a fantastic attempt, and I think you did a great job. It's a really interesting build. Yeah, I agree, Max. That build was cool. And Generalissimo adds, Sarmatian Auxilia is based on theories shared about the potential... Historical base is that Sarmatian auxiliaries may have remained to aid. Okay, that's interesting. I'd never heard about that. Totally could buy it. Okay, 2 builds left. Next one. Thanks again to Board RG for submitting. This one is someone sent me a blog. Normally, I prefer them to be submitted as documents, but for this one, it seemed okay. Because it's Scylla, or Shila, as we should call it. This is submitted by Martin Corporad, and if you're trying to find it on the Google Drive, it's only accessible via a link on that link document. So, Shila, Infantry and Naval Civilization. Unique unit is the Hwarang. What a surprise. Fights and moves faster, while within the field of vision of other Hwarang. This is one of the things that made me want to show this build. I was this close to giving the Hwarang this exact bonus on my build, but making it a cavalry archer. The reason I decided not to is because I felt like a bonus that gives extra attack to cavalry archers has the potential to be very disgusting. Archer attack is really shittily balanced, in my opinion, in Age of Empires, because even giving a single archer unit plus 1 attack is potentially game warping. And so I didn't want to pigeonhole my Hwarang unit into having to be nerfed into oblivion or being prohibitively expensive to use. Also, I wanted to do a get up and fight again thing, like cross unit types. I thought that was sick. But yes, this aura bonus thing, brilliant. Love it. Okay. Gives a lot of stat comparisons. Really nice. Gives a suggestion for the castle. Yep. Like I said, there's not many structures that are characteristic of the castle. Okay. Oh, crowns. That's cute. For unique technologies. Taekyon, infantry units and villagers gain plus 10 HP and plus 1 attack. A Korean martial art. Is that similar to Hwarang Do? Because I don't think I've ever heard of Taekyon before. Unless it's like a reference to Taekwondo, which is, I think, tries to reference some fighting styles that originated in Shila. That's an interesting idea. Never came up in my research, but I think the idea of giving villagers the HP and attack as well as infantry units is cool. I don't know if it's going to be that strong, but it's cool. And infantry getting +10 HP, +1 attack, nothing to sneeze at. Seems like a fine bonus. 5 precepts for secular life. Militia line, archer line, Hwarang, villager, monk, +1 armor, +1/+1 armor, and +1 line of sight. Monks who convert units instantly regain 20% faith. Yeah, so the 5 precepts for secular life was something that I also noted in my research. I get the idea of doing this particular implementation. I did not want to make my Shila build super focused on monks, but I think that this is a pretty cool way to do it. I personally think this is hitting too many different types of units, but more armor and line of sight and like a conversion thing does feel like it makes some sense together. I might say something like monks instantly regain that faith upon converting a unit, and then like, I don't know, all foot units gain +2 or 3 line of sight, something like that. I'm not sure. Solid idea though. Got a wonder here. This is not the one that I found, but it seems pretty cool. This is actually from the Shila period, which is sick. But I wanted to stick with the one that's in game. Also mentions the Bulguksa temple, which is one I considered as well. And then bonuses. Free galley line upgrades. Aha! I put this on my Swahili build. Very good. Very, very good indeed. This by itself, I think, makes a civilization a good water civ. So success on that. Although I will say, Shila did not have a lot of luck on water from what I could see until it started to dominate the peninsula. But I guess it did establish trade with China. But even while it was trading with China, it still had to contend with Baekje, which had much better control over the water in the early days. So I personally don't know if I would have given this bonus. I would have maybe favored late game water more. But I do think that my Shilan's build could have maybe had more focus on water. Fire ships, demo ships, +2 line of sight from Castle Age. Don't really see it myself, but sure, okay. Feels kind of weird to support galley line here and fire and demo ship here. I think it would be more satisfying to have it both benefit just galley or something, or maybe all warships. But maybe. Guerrilla lines have +2 melee armor over the ages. I don't know what that means. Maybe he's referencing like a theory-crafted unit that he made at another point. Spearmen gain bonus pierce armor through the ages. I had a spearman thing as well. Nice. Siege towers customize 50% wood and have +30% HP from castles. Unfortunately, this is a nerf to the civilization because anything buffing the siege tower makes you worse. But cool. I respect the hustle. I don't see it though, unless I missed something huge about siege towers being a thing in Shilan history. Team bonus units, garrison, siege towers, fire arrows. Okay. I think this might make siege towers actually pretty good. I still don't really, like, historically speaking, know where it's coming from. But if a civilization had both of these bonuses, yeah, maybe you'd make siege towers. Cool. I don't know. What is the guerrilla? I really want to know what it is. Okay. Describes a little bit about some justifications, talking about tech tree. Kind of hard to see from here. Let me squint my little eyeballs in. It actually looks pretty similar to mine, to be honest. Yeah. Yep, cool. Sorry, I'm not really giving great commentary right now. It's just kind of hard to see. The tech tree looks rather similar to mine. Yeah, just slight differentiations on where emphasis in place. Like, obviously, on my build, I put a big emphasis on archers, as well as a slight sub-theme on infantry with very respectable navy and usable cavalry and siege. This just kind of switches it around to have more of a focus on infantry and on navy in a big way. But that's cool. I love seeing how different people approach the same civilization build, and this one is no exception. I would say that, historically speaking, I'm not seeing some of it, but we all could be coming to the same history from different angles. So maybe I'm completely freaking wrong. If so, please let me know. Chat, what do you guys think about this one? Let's take a look. Jalorn, talking about the previous build, says Irish myths also have several very important cups. The word grail is typically sourced from French, but it occurs to me that French is a Romance language. It's true. Generalissimo says siege tower sweep. Bjarka says galley line armor, maybe for guerrilla line. I don't know. I'm just not sure what the heck that means. Again, sometimes in these builds, Celtic Keeper does this a lot, but often in these builds, people will give civilizations bonuses for units that they have theory crafted to add to the broader tech tree, and that's good. I love doing that. I just don't know what it means sometimes. So I apologize for being dense. With that, however, we move on to the final build. The final build for today by Gear Director is a rework of the Byzantines, specifically in a Macedonian dynasty version of the Byzantines. Let's take a look at their bonuses. Cavalry and defensive civilization. Cultural bonuses. That's quite curious. Building HP plus 10% by age, same as we have now. Fire ships and dromons attack faster, same as we have now. Town watch and town patrol free, same as we have now. Farms pay 2% of their food as gold when built. Now that's a change. And team bonus, monks heal 100% faster, same as we have now. So this is swapping out the current trash unit and counter unit bonus with kind of like a Folwarky type thingy, but giving you a fat amount of gold. Probably, almost certainly, in fact, in reference to olive oil. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, Gear Director. Unique units, Varangian Guard. We've seen this a lot of times. This one's a little different because it has charge damage, but it's an expensive, resilient infantry, as it should be. And then the Cataphract, which is as it is now. Unique technologies. One, Tagmatic Reform, which gives mounted units more armor and attack, maybe specifically stable units. And then Logistica, which would work as it does now. The tech tree, I don't know the Byzantine tech tree off the top of my head, but I think that missing hand cannoneers is new, maybe. For the most part, though, it seems pretty much the same. Oh, they miss Bombard Tower here, too. Let's see. I wish I knew off the top of my head. However, it's referring specifically to the Macedonian dynasty, which is the most successful period of Byzantine history after the Arab conquest, where we see people like Basil II. He adds that the Byzantines, as they exist in games, seem to draw most of their inspiration from the pre-Islamic period, with the units that speak medieval Latin and the Imperial Age discount, a bastion of civilization in the Dark Ages and all that stuff. These parts were therefore immediately done away with in this rework. The Byzantines of the Macedonian period were surrounded on all sides by developed large-scale societies that matched or in some cases outdid them in terms of cultural and artistic achievement. As such, the Imperial Age discount was done away with, and the units should now speak Greek instead of Latin. Again, I'm going into a little more detail here because this civilization is honestly very conventional. It's only have like 3 or 4 changes from the base civ, so we may as well hear a little more justification. The counter unit discount is a big loss, but it's not justified in this civ build. If the discount for counter units is a reference to anything historical, then the best option is, in my opinion, the thematic system that the Empire had in its provinces. A system where local taxes should pay for a local army to defend the province, the limitani, border of militia, of the late antiquity period are also a reasonable candidate. The bonus could be gesturing at both. I've heard other people say, by the way, this is not Gear Director, this is me talking. I've heard many people say that this the counter unit bonus discount is in reference to the Turcopoles as well. And the problem is that this system didn't work like this anymore by the time the Macedonian dynasty arrives on the scene. I think the Macedonians also arrived before Turcopoles were used heavily during the Crusades, but I could be completely off my rocker with that. Byzantines have a full blacksmith now and take supplies out of their barracks. Haven't taken away any of the counter units themselves. They're still important. Other bonuses stayed either because they're relevant or for lack of a suitable alternative. Gunpowder has been mostly excised. Uke unit pretty obvious. Farm gold bonus. Why is this? Greatest source of revenue for the Imperial Treasury of taxation of land. Okay, so it's not olive oil. It's land taxes, which makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's a common enough thing around the world that I would love to see an actual technology committed to something like that, too. Tagmatic reform is in reference to the Tagmata, relied on its cavalry wing, I assume. Cavalry was expected to be the arm winning battles with the infantry taking a supportive role. It fits, maintaining cataphracts and logistica. Fits well with the stuff just said about cavalry. To maintain balance, the cataphract can have its base stats reduced slightly so it doesn't become overpowered with the new upgrades. Okay. So this is by far and away the most conventional build we've seen today. It is changing only a couple of things from the baseline. I think that there are strong justifications behind a lot of it. I think that the bonuses targeted for removal from the baseline Byzantines and the tech tree targets make a good amount of sense to me. I disagree with exactly one thing, which is if you're going to redo the Byzantines, get rid of frickin' logistica. Yeah, I feel like cataphracts should just have trample damage by default, or shouldn't have it at all. Or logistica should be broadened to affect more stable units besides just the cataphract, or more mounted units rather, because I feel like technologies that only affect a unique unit are silly. That is my objective opinion on the matter. But besides that, I think it's very respectable. I think the farm bonus is extremely cool. Might be too good. In fact, off rip, I think it's maybe too good. Maybe. No, definitely, I'm going to say. Cool bonus, I think it's too strong. But I think it's really cool to think about and would definitely make the civilization play so differently from how it does now. Nicely done, Gear Director. I know that you're super proficient with Byzantine stuff. This is absolutely your sort of specialty. So I'm definitely not going to question any of your history. No doubt about that. All right, chat, what do you guys think about Gear Director's build? Oh, he's in chat. Excellent. So he said, yeah, I definitely went more towards historical accuracy first over game balance. The farm gold bonus is hinting at the efficiency and central importance of the tax land. Yeah, I saw that later on, but earlier on I was blundering around. Eric says it's the build you showed in the beginning. Oh, did I? Oopsies. Yeah, Turbo Diego says OG Byzantines have gunpowder, which is missing in this one. And Jaloran says land tax is common, but the Byzantine taxation system was indeed one of the most successful and stable implementations. It also helped that it centralized the economy around the capital. Beautifully said. I'd like some more details about their unique unit. Pardon me, Gear Director adds, it becomes an elite civilization with this rework, if anything. It definitely does. Let's see if there's more detail about the unique unit. Here's what we have. Bodyguard established by Basil II, Imperial shock troops, hence the charge damage. So the charge damage is in reference to them being shock troops, which is definitely the case. Stats are high, expensive, get what you pay for. But they are trained at the barracks rather than at the castle. I think I might actually suggest making them the castle unique unit and moving the cataphract to the stable, maybe as a replacement for the knight. Because, I don't know, as an Imperial Guard, it feels like it makes sense that they would be trained from a castle more than a kind of standard elite cavalryman. Again, maybe I'm talking about my ass. Just a thought, though. Generalissimo says, honestly, seems like a really great build. I agree Logistica should be changed. And Eric says he'll show the tech tree differences from the Byzantines in the Discord later. Yeah, I think that this is a really great build. I love history first stuff. And I think that what few balanced tweaks that there are to be made with this are very easily made without compromising the history. And as I have very often said, I feel like when people say, oh, if you focus on history, it will come at the expense of gameplay, I do not think that is true. And the reason being is that when you focus on history first, you can change what you come to with history by tweaking numbers and maybe minor implementation things without compromising the history outright, such that you can slowly wedge the history into a spot where it can fit an actually balanced civilization design. If you're starting balanced first and you try to backwards compatible history into it, I think that is much, much harder to do. Whereas balance is, frankly, a process even in the best designed games. You always have to improve it and improve it over time. Even for a game like Settlers of Catan, which is an incredibly fixed loop system, there's so little you can change about Catan while keeping its core design. Catan, for those who have played competitively, as I have, will know that it is a terribly balanced game in many ways, with ore wheat sheep builds being almost universally overpowered. And even when you have a whole table unified against you, you are still much more likely to win, whereas road building sort of builds are generally seen as very weak. Does this kind of balance out by the fact that you have a 4-person table? Kind of, yes. But the reason I go on this Catan tangent is, again, because when you start from a mechanics-first perspective, it is you're still going to have balance issues. And Catan is a very mechanics-first game. So you're still going to have balance issues. So why not start with the history, the thing that you can't backwards compatibly put in, and work out the balance from there. Rant over. Maybe I'll do a full video on that sort of thing someday. What do you guys think? Gear Director adds, the barracks placement is because they were sent all over the empire despite being a palace guard. Basil never stayed a full year in Constantinople during his reign and took them with him everywhere. It's reasonable. I still feel like the cataphract doesn't really make sense as a castle unit, but I can see wanting to appeal to nostalgia there. That definitely is important. They kept going far and wide during the reigns of more homebody emperors. Yeah, well, given that they were Varangian, that makes sense. All right. We have done it! Hooray! I can't believe it. We've actually managed to get through every civilization submitted to me, and it's only taken me 2.5 hours. At this point, let's open it up to questions. If you guys have any topics that you want to ask me about, either about civilization design, recent builds, future projects, game design topics, fantasy world building, whatever the fuck, let me know. I would love to hear from you, or about any of the builds we've seen thus far if I didn't mention that. Before we get into that, thanks again for everyone who submitted builds today. You guys had some really fantastic stuff, and I loved reading through it. I would say if I had to pick, and again, if I had to pick, because it's very hard to make this decision, I think that the high points today go to the Gondorians by Crosshill. That was a beautiful frickin' build. The Papal States by Saracen Warlord. Yeah, I think those two narrowly edge out the rest of the incredibly competitive field for being my personal favorites of the day. Huge round of applause to you both, as well as to, again, everyone else who submitted. Thank you very much for doing so. Let's do some goofy questions. Gear Director adds, should add, missing supplies still means Gambesons is available. Totally fine. I didn't question that once. I think the fact that supplies is a prerequisite for Gambesons is frickin' stupid. And it's something that in my own personal mod implementations that I'm working with a team on right now, I will not be featuring. Generalissimo says, down for opinions on it. I was getting into the weed of King Arthur and the whole mess that is for Romano-British culture. Got me to go in this way for my civ decision. Totally makes sense. And like I said, I think Romano-British is a great idea for a civilization. Biarca says, tons of great and interesting builds. Couldn't agree more. You guys are awesome. Like, I did a contest featuring builds way back in the day, like I think almost exactly a year ago now. We had some awesome builds for that. I'd say these are even stronger, and so it makes me want to do another contest. What do you guys think? You want to do another contest? Because I think I do. Rift Alexa says, please do this another time. I have a few designs I would like to develop more. Yeah, I think I'd like to do this another time, especially now that I don't have to argue with OBS, hopefully, ever again when I'm streaming. If you guys are enjoying the streams, I'd like to do more. Streams are quite fun. Generalissimo says, Gondorians deserve the highlight. Completely freaking agree. If someone can make Gondorians, then I can take a few drinks and go wild. Vils costing gold for next civ ideas. Yeah, I mean, listen, guys. We did have this Swiss build by Max Bowman. One of the most crazy avant-garde things I have ever seen. And I love it. So if you guys want to do crazy stuff, I am here for it. How has Age of Empires existed for over 20 years without making a better selection and use of infantry? I agree, Johnny Thunderbase. It's goofy, and it's something I really dislike personally. Obviously, for the moment, I am trying to stay slightly more conventional in my own designs. But once we have a nice base of conventionality to work off of, we can start getting back to trying to fix some more fundamental problems like that. Okay, Eric says, I remember someone on Discord showing a build of the Polynesians, and also that has a blog on the wiki that gives builds for Alans, Armenians, Jordans, and Khazars, and all of them had theme-like. I mean, honestly, at this point, so many people have shared so many builds on the server and on my channel and beyond. Not only is it hard to keep track of, but it consistently floors me just how much creative energy is put into this and how much cool stuff we continue to come up with. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't use Reddit. I'm not a part of the Age of Empires forums. And I started doing theory crafting way the frick back in the day, before African Kingdoms came out. Because what came before African Kingdoms? HD had just come out. And I was excitedly telling my mom, hey, remember that game we used to play together? Well, you know what would be really cool? What if they had... What was the first one I did? It might have been the Khmer, actually. It might have been the Khmer. It may have been the Vlachs, even. I said, it did something. I was like, what if we had this civilization in there? And I showed her some ideas, and she was like... Because she played Age of Empires with me a lot back in the day. She was like, oh, yeah, that seems really cool, Rob. And I said, thanks. And I forgot about it for like 7 years. So I feel like people come to Theorycraft. You don't need to be a part of the community to come to Theorycraft, but as someone who's coming to the community completely fresh, there is an enormous amount of talent here, and it's awesome. It's a privilege to be able to see it and for you guys to share it with me. Generalissimo says, if you could, how would you make infantry more balanced in Age of Empires 2? I've done videos on this before. The thing that I think makes most sense is that all unit types have a theme to them, a play style to them. Cavalry are fast, archers have range, siege, eat your base. All of them have a way of controlling space. Siege control space by making you need to go and defend your base. Cavalry do by being faster than you. Archers do by being shootier than you. So what's infantry's way of controlling space? What is their theme? I would propose that the theme that makes most sense is if infantry could outnumber you. And because of that, I would personally propose making infantry dramatically cheaper, dramatically quicker to train. When I say dramatically, I don't mean like 50% off, right? I mean like not 5 resources here and there, like 10 to 15 resources. But also giving technologies that make it so that infantry take less than 1 population, like they have in Age of Empires 1. I think if you have that, infantry have a role. And until you do that, they don't. You can stat stick all you want. I think that dilutes their identity rather than improves it. Jaloran says, what about a contest where everyone builds along a limited theme, either a specific civilization or a civilization type? That'd be too limiting. Bjarka says that sounds great. I think that is exactly how I would do a future contest. I think building within a theme is cool and fun, and also makes it so that if someone has like a huge backlog, they can sift through their backlog and find the perfect pick, rather than just saying, oh yeah, here's my entire body of work to me. 1 sift, please. Themes like, ran out of words. Pardon me, Eric. It makes sense. Max says, loved all the builds, really. Finally got audio. Glad you can hear me. You'll be able to watch in post, I think, and you should have audio then. Generalissimo says, the Forgotten. Yeah, pardon me. When I was saying what came before African Kingdoms, I meant to say that was just... HD came out right before African Kingdoms released, right? I think I'm right. So that's what I meant. HD had just come out. Crossel says, I played like 5 different Lord of the Rings strategy games and mods that I have a general idea about the perception of you in lesser Lord of the Rings civilizations. I'm particularly enamored with Dorwinion. That is one I do not know nearly as much about. And then Gear Director says, Forgotten was the new HD add-on. Yeah, fan-made mod, kind of sparked interest, blah, blah, blah. Awesome. Thank you for confirming. Okay, Max says, what about a camel theme? Camel theme would be pretty fun. I could maybe see doing that. Another thing we could consider would be something like you could only do a remake of an existing civilization, maybe. Or maybe you can only do a remake and it has to be within like one part of the world. Like you could only remake a civilization that currently has Mediterranean architecture. Maybe. Could be cool. And maybe we could say, something I was thinking is maybe for a contest we could have a l'avant-garde category and a la vanilla category. It's kind of like in tennis, you have the singles and you have the doubles. So I think that could be kind of fun. Actually, I just had a dumbass idea. Singles and doubles. What if you had to submit a build with someone else? Like you had to do a collab. Probably not. That sounds like a logistical nightmare, but it sounds kind of cute. Yeah. Thank you for confirming the timeline, Eric. Yeah, HD had just HD was out. Forgotten had just been released for HD. I had gotten Forgotten and said, "Holy shit! All this cool stuff was added to this game I love. What if I added some more?" Sort of thing. Generalissimo says, "I would grab the AO3 Spanish and go wild because I got some opinions on the civilizations and it stands out very much compared to the other civs." I will take your word for it. Collab civ work. I'm glad you'd be down for it at the very least. I think it would be really cool. I do like kind of pushing people to work with each other because I think part of the fun of theory crafting is seeing what other people have done and like trading notes, you know? Like I try to be more restrictive because I don't want to bias myself and I certainly don't want to like accidentally rip anyone off. But that doesn't mean I don't encourage it for everyone else. What about if every build has to contain a single specific bonus, like the Exquisite Corpse? That's a sick idea. That sounds really fun. Eric says, I think a La Vanilla contest could be a good idea. I would be kind of sad to not feature L'Avant-Garde as well. So I think it would be cool if you could submit a L'Avant-Garde or a La Vanilla build or something like that. Crossel says, gotta go. So see ya. Crossel, thanks for joining. Fantastic build, man. That was really awesome. I appreciate you being a part of this. Eric says, total bias. Sorry. No problem, man. Do you guys have any other questions for me about, again, builds we've seen today, Age of Empires 2 topics more broadly, game design more broadly, channel going forward, any sorts of stuff? Now's the time to ask, and if not, we'll start to wrap up. Max says, I want to do a fancy Australian civilization because there are so many Aboriginal tribes that got fairly advanced. Have to be as random as my Swiss build. You know, if we were to do a L'Avant-Garde thing, sky's the limit. Jolaren says, like, same contest with the same limitations, but 2 categories to compete in? Yeah, exactly like that. That's kind of what I was thinking. L'Avant-Garde could be good to not leave others out. Yeah, I was thinking so too. And that way also, if you want to do something kind of weird and out there, you can. And I think that you should be, like, welcome, if not even actively encouraged to do so, while still ensuring that the La Vanilla civilizations kind of feel comparable to each other. Ugapiku says, good day, sir. Good day to you, too. We're going to be wrapping up soonish, so now is open question time. Once again, you guys can ask me anything and everything. I'd love to hear about it. Generalissimo says, do you think you will do AoE 1 videos at some point? Think there's some space, considering how few factions it got. Yes, I would love to. I'm quite interested in the time period. My issue is that it sucks. Not the time period. Age of Empires 1. It's not a fun game, at least in my opinion. My objective opinion. If you guys think otherwise, then you are objectively wrong. But I think before I do Age of Empires 1, I plan on doing a couple of videos talking about how we can unfuck Age of Empires 1. And make it, if nothing else, more like Age of Empires 2 to give everyone a nice frame of reference to work off of. Just my thoughts on how I do it, though. A moon zombie civilization, full L'Avant-Garde. Okay, I'll be honest, that's a little far even for me, but if you want to frickin' do it, do it. Maybe an Age of Mythology Civ build contest. I could see that. Age of Mythology civilizations are much larger and more in-depth, though. When I tackle an Age of Mythology civilization that I hope to do sometime this coming month, I'll tell you guys right now, I'm not going to have stats for it. And I'm going to give unit descriptions, unit images, unit justifications, but I'm probably going to avoid stats. And the reason being is that if I were to add stats onto it, the video would be enormous and extremely, it's already going to be long. So I'm going to have to be a lot more surface level than I normally like to be. And if people really like it, maybe I can go more in depth on that sort of thing in future. I just want to make sure that my first Age of Mythology build isn't some hour-and-a-half long Leviathan that daunts anyone away from actually watching the damn thing. Eric says, do you think you could do open forum sometime again? Maybe. I think we're reaching a point where that could be a consideration. I think more likely is I might do a little more streaming to give you guys a chance to do back and forth and talk about stuff and maybe show me builds live and that sort of thing. But open forums themselves, I think I'd want to do it in a way that can involve the channel more directly. Generalissimo says, hot take, Return of Rome should have gone further with making the Age of Empires 1 mode be better. I would say that's a hot take at all. I'd say that's a very normal take. Totally agree. It's very outdated. Rift Alexa says, thoughts on the Somalis as a civilization? I have not gotten a chance to look into them too deeply. I did some adjacent stuff while I was working on the Swahilis. If the Swahilis are feasible, then it seems fitting that the Somalis would probably be too. And from what little adjacent research I did while working on the Swahilis, Somalis seem like a shoo-in. I think that if the Swahilis are added, it would probably be done alongside a Somali and maybe a Yemeni or Himyarite civilization, just to kind of encompass a large span of the Horn of Africa. Jaloran says, I think if you do Age of Mythology Civ contest, it might need to be a team contest or more limited to a single god at a time. Totally possible. Max says, I do not understand why Age of Empires 1 is still popular. Age of Empires 2 is just better. I think that is largely true, but nostalgia is a powerful thing, and people clearly like the game loop. Many people have said it before, but I think Vietnam is a big reason for it, because that game was huge in Vietnam. Eric says, Age of Mythology stats are kind of hard to keep track of for an Age of Empires 2 player. Oh yeah, no doubt about that. It's a very dense game that measures things in a very weird way. And I've memorized a lot of stats for a lot of Age of Empires 2 stuff, and so having to rememorize a whole bunch of other stuff sounds really annoying, or just getting used to constantly scrolling the wiki. Okay, we're going to do final questions. I'll take, if you guys have 2 or 3 more, we'll do those and we'll sign off again. Any questions you guys have on any topics, or any thoughts you guys have on any topic, and then we'll end it for today. Generalissimo adds Vietnam Age of Empires 1 is what StarCraft 1 is to Koreans. Could be the case. I would say that I don't know enough about the topic to make exactly that comparison, but I will say the difference for me, at least, is that I think StarCraft 1 is a better game than Age of Empires 1. I think StarCraft 1 is a lot more fun and a lot more snappy. There are plenty of examples of old games that I think are much better than their later counterparts. I would say I personally preferred StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty substantially to StarCraft 1, but once they started doing the expansions to StarCraft 2, I kind of lost interest in it. I think StarCraft 1 is substantially better than Heart of the Swarm or Legacy of the Void, mostly because I just didn't enjoy the gameplay loop for those 2 expansions. I thought Wings of Liberty was awesome, and then I think they kind of ruined it. Maybe a hot take, I don't know. Whereas StarCraft 1 was very, or Brood War specifically, very consistent. When do you think will be the next stream for you, says Eric? I don't know. I'm hoping, I think we can comfortably say before the end of the year. Maybe if we end up doing that contest, I can do a stream to go over the victors of it, and maybe do another one after that. I don't know. Depends on how often people want it. Biarca says, Age of Wonders video when? I think I can commit to Age of Wonders before the end of the year, but no promises. Max says, do you think we need an Italian split? Yes, we do. How high I would prioritize it? There's others I would prioritize higher, but it's a top 5 split for me. Generalissimo says, StarCraft 2 arcade is fire. Completely agree. It's super fun. Hoop Thrower says, Heart of the Swarm was excruciating to play through. I agree. I thought the campaign was aight. Wings of Liberties was better, though. But competitive Heart of the Swarm sucked my ass. Turbo Diego says, are you referring to campaign? No, I thought the campaigns in StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty campaign was amazing. Maybe my favorite RTS campaign of all time, or at least high up there. What is it? Heart of the Swarm was fine. Pros and cons, and Legacy of the Void I did not like. I was mostly talking about competitive. Because I played a little competitive StarCraft 2, but I followed it a lot. Like, in high school, I was obsessed with competitive StarCraft 2, and into college a little bit. More streams. Good. Glad to hear you want that. I certainly think StarCraft 2 has more personality than Age of Empires 1, says Eric. Couldn't agree more. Jolaren says, any news on the community collab thing? I wish I could, but unfortunately we've had a couple of really big scheduling hiccups. I'm trying to hold off and see if because I don't want to call anyone out. I don't want to make anyone feel bad about it. But we've had a couple of major scheduling issues that if they become more permanent, I'm going to have to call the thing off, which I'm really upset about. But I'm not so upset that I want to like make people's life hard about it. If that's the case, I'll make sure to let everyone know and apologize, because we had great momentum at first and then it kind of fizzled. So if that's the case, I'll end up doing a different community thing instead. Carl says Genoa, Venice, and Firenze. I don't know about Firenze. That's an interesting one. I would say that Genoa and Venice are the obvious two for sure, but I think there's a bunch of others that you could do as well. Eric says, I haven't actually played Legacy of the Void yet. Don't. I mean, objective. Don't. Generalissimo, Age of Empires 1 personality is 120 hit point Centurions with 30 attack, demolishing anything that just sneezes in their general direction. Yeah, I mean, that / a million chariots. I feel like every time I watch competitive Age of Empires 1, which is admittedly not many times, it just does a million chariots. And then, like, early game cheese. And, I don't know, that doesn't seem fun to me. Max says, better game, Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires 4, or StarCraft 2. I like Age of Empires 2 by far the most out of all of those. StarCraft 2, I think, is really fun and mechanically very compelling, but I think Age of Empires 2 is a lot more appealing to me from its setting. I think I prefer its engine, and I also prefer its graphics substantially. I think StarCraft 2, though, like I said, I'm not a big sci-fi guy. StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty, held my attention a lot, and that's saying a lot considering it's sci-fi. Jaloran says Milano. Yeah, that's another one you could consider for a Italian split. Bjarka says theory play competition. Shh. I want to keep it under wraps just in case we can pick it back up, because I thought it would be cool to be a surprise. Hoop Thrower says, before I go on to that, in terms of better game, Age of Empires 2 for StarCraft 2, I think Age of Empires 4 is by far and away the worst of those. I'd love to do a video on Age of Empires 4 someday, because it's a game that I'm personally quite embittered by, because I think it had frickin' tremendous potential, and it seems okay. Like, the competitive scene seems reasonably robust. I'm rooting for them. I have a lot of problems with the game, and I feel like a lot of the people in my comment section were saying, oh, well, let's just bring your funky stuff out of Age of Empires 4. That's the historical one. Really? No, it's not, actually. And so, yeah, I feel like for the game that they were trying to be more historical about, it's an abject failure. I think that I love how asymmetrical it is. I love the diversity between civilizations. I love the variety of unique units. I love certain elements like building landmarks to advance through ages. I think that's amazing. So there's a lot I like, but then the things that I don't like are so frickin' disappointing that it's hard for me to really like it. But again, more power to the community. There's a guy who does theory crafting for Age of Empires 4 actually, called Chili Empires, who I'd highly recommend. He does some really good work. Anyways, Hoop Thrower says, lukewarm take, Mayans need a split. It's not lukewarm at all. That's a great take, and I completely agree. Sicily was a medieval melting pot, says Gear Director. I think Sicily is criminally underused in current game. Obviously, it's been said, it's just the Normans. It's true, it is. But I think there's actually room for a couple of different Sicilian civilizations because of how much different stuff there was going on there. Carl says AoE 4 is an okay game, but it lacks something to make it unique. Hoop Thrower adds, AoE 4 is an aggressively okay game. That's actually a really solid take. I think that it has high highs and a lot of ideas I really like, and very low lows, for me at least. I feel like it's trying to make Age of Empires 2 into StarCraft, while missing what makes either of those games great. But again, it had so much potential. As Gear Director says, Norman Kingdom, Arab piracy, Byzantine and Papal rivalry, so much in Sicily. Joel says, haven't played it myself. The vibe I get off of AoE 4 is it doesn't really have a cohesive design philosophy. It's kind of thematically jumbled. I'd say it does have a cohesive design philosophy, but I don't like that design philosophy, and I don't think that design philosophy is what people claim is the design philosophy. I do not think it is a historically accurate or grounded game. And I think the fact that it exists kind of makes calls, works to help invalidate calls for historical accuracy in other installments in that series and other games besides, which I think is dumb. It's because I don't think it accomplishes its stated goal. Eric says, I thought Mayans needed a rework. I would say they do, but may as well split them too. Max says, why is AoE 3 so unpopular compared to the others? So, from an outsider looking in, having only watched AoE 3 for a combined total of like an hour, a couple of campaigns and something, and maybe like an Iron Kaiser video here and there, AoE 3 to me feels like Warcraft 3 smushed together with Age of Empires 2 in the Gunpowder Age. One of the things that I think makes it unpopular is that there is a lot going on. Like, there's a lot of information, which is fine. I actually like a lot of information. But I also find that, for me at least, when people show me, like, oh, look at this unit from Age of Empires 3, it has, like, a trillion stats. It's kind of hard to get the gist of a unit at a glance, and I feel like the game over-relies on counter damage. With, like, I could be talking up my ass, like a light infantry unit that gets plus like 200% bonus damage against siege weapons or something like that, which feels kind of inelegant to me at least. But I think the main thing that daunts people away is that there's a lot of information, and the era in general is less popular than the medieval era. I think that Age of Empires 3 is an extremely commendable game though, and I very much look forward to learning more about it in the not too distant future. General Lissimo adds, speaking of splitting, the Britons absolutely need to split. Yes, couldn't agree more. And then Turbo Diego on Age of Empires 3 says, to me, the main factor is that it's so radically different from AoE 2 that fanbase wasn't very fond of it. Yeah, beautifully said. I think that as a standalone game, Age of Empires 3 is actually pretty exceptional. And I remember when it came out, I was like, wait, there's a third one? And there's guns in it? And the graphics look like, holy hell. So I had a hard time adopting it. But if I had found it without knowing Age of Empires 2, I wouldn't be surprised if I liked it a lot more. Okay, Hoopthrower says nothing about Mali in Age of Empires 4 is inspired by historical Mali. They just threw vaguely African things in there. Exactly. And that is why I personally despise Age of Empires 4's design philosophy. It's not historical when it said it would be. If they didn't pretend it was, I wouldn't have nearly as much of a problem. But I still think it means that there's a big gaping niche for a history-focused RTS game that can still enjoy some of the poppy elements. You know, we're not asking, like, Total War does a pretty good job of representing, like, very accurate history. And I mean, that's kind of a good meme. Total War does not do a good job of that. But there's many, like, larger scale games that do a good job of representing more true to history stuff. But for an RTS game, you have to, like, simplify in many ways, right? But I think there is still a niche for a more historical RTS game that Age of Empires 4 seemed to be trying to fill and did not. Generalissimo says, should get around to watching those videos about the British Isles. Well, thank you. I think they're all right. Not my favorite, but they're all right. Turbo Diego says, Age of Empires 3, you have to learn a lot of things. Each civ has a bunch of units and cards that do wacky things, which I like. I actually like when you have a lot of stuff going on. I just feel like there's ways to make it a little more elegant. Like, if you're doing a bunch of stuff as a player and you can just click around and things happen, as long as things are kind of happening the way you expected, you don't need to know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. And then once you do dive behind the scenes, it can get really exciting. Age of Empires 3 kind of felt to me like something that you kind of needed to know more about what was going on behind the scenes before you could just click around. Whereas Age of Empires 2, you can just click around a lot of the time. Biarca says, counter damage. Just play French, use cuirassiers, and mow down everything. Generalissimo adds, AoE 3 to me, it's what I wish more Age of Empires faction were, not in the sense of mechanics, but in the sense of unique units. It really goes quite far in making sure civilizations aren't just using the same skin for all the things they got. They at least look visually different, which is better compared to Age of Empires 2. Couldn't agree more. I think that in terms of civilization distinctiveness and differentiation, Age of Empires 3 is awesome. Hot take, Age of Mythology graphics suck. Ooh, that is a hot take. I don't know. I kind of like them, but I prefer pixel graphics by a lot. Age of Mythology just looks like less hideous Age of or Empire Earth to me, rather. Biarca says, especially in DE where unique variants actually have unique skins. Yeah, sick. Gear Director says Total War has been hot garbage for years. Facts. And Turbo Diaz says that's fair to me. They are fine. Yeah, I'm okay with Age of Mythology's graphics, but I do prefer pixel art. by a lot. I think Age of Empires 2 has beautiful pixel graphics. If I could turn on original graphics in DE, I would. But at least DE is reasonably respectful about how it deals with the graphics and didn't make them some like 3D model abomination. Generally, Smith says AoE3 DE Art of War is an amazing thing they added to help people get into the game. That's great. That's so cool. I'm super glad. Gear Director adds a Total War is the last decent one, and the last great one was Shogun 2. Facts. I got into Warhammer 2 for a little while because, again, I'm nostalgic for Warhammer. It got so boring. How do you make Warhammer boring, for Christ's sake? Jaloran says classic Age of Mythology visuals work on the strategy level, but up close, are they horrendous? Yes! Did you guys in Empire Earth ever zoom all the way in to see the awkward little faces? Age of Mythology was similar. Carl says the channel Demon Age of Empires 2 makes arguments for adding reskins and pushes vids about it. Good. I've seen their vids pop up a couple of times. I've pushed for it too. Maybe I'll try to do it something more serious with it in the future. Generalissimo says Shogun wasn't a great one. I'd like to remind everyone that upgrading markets actively hinders your economy because of the food cost thing. It's fair, but Shogun had some other good things going for it. Carl says hopefully Microsoft release a total reskin DLC. Agreedo. Max says, Robbie, do you play ranked? In terms of Age of Empires 2, I used to. Back in HD, I was reasonably competitive. I played like a couple of games in DE, but since DE came out, I've been mostly just enjoying from afar and doing theory crafting and supplemental stuff. But in HD, I was pretty sweaty for a little while. I climbed to, was it 1600 ELO baseline? I think it was. And if it was 1600 ELO baseline, I climbed to like low 1800s, which like isn't amazing, but you know, I tried. And Jaloran says Shogun 2 is my favorite Total War, and that's an objective opinion. Objective indeed, my good objective friend. Gear Director says you're currently playtesting a bit of a Warhammer 2 mod that's actually really good. That's awesome. I know Warhammer 2 has a really good modding scene, and I'm glad to hear it. Warhammer 3 is a bit of a disaster, in my opinion, and so Warhammer 2 was the one that held my attention. It would be great to see it modded further. Carcappa said, a shameful display! Great line. Does a lot of rebalancing towards more classic Total War feel. Awesome to hear. Eric says, I mostly just play campaigns, official or not. Solid. Nothing wrong with that. I used to really love the campaigns, and when I got HD, I played every campaign I could get my hands on. I just kind of got done with the cycle of campaigns, you know? They don't really grip me as much anymore because I feel like Age of Empires is a limited enough a game that it's hard to do really new stuff with them. What I would love to see would be some sort of competitive sub-maps or sub-mods for Age of Empires 2. Kind of like we have with Castle Blood, but I find Castle Blood kind of tedious. What I'd love to see is something kind of like what they did with Dota, but obviously not hero-based, right? There's a mod for Warcraft 3 called Island Defense, which I played the shit out of and was very active on the forums on for a while. And I think something like Island Defense could work super well in Age of Empires 2. Maybe someday I'll try to fund a mod on something like that. Icebird says, are you more of a campaign or a multiplayer enjoyer? These days I don't play the game as much. I mostly like the supplemental stuff around it, but when I played it a lot, I was more of a multiplayer enjoyer, I would say. Biarca says, I too am extraordinarily objective. Yeah, that was a great meme. I love that one. Stainless steel mod or vanilla for Medieval 2. I don't know enough about Medieval 2 Total War to comment on that. Cyber Drewin says, I know it's been dead for years, but I really liked how Rise of Nations tried to give each region unique models for most units in the game. Yeah, Rise of Nations is an interesting case. I never played it. I only found about it later, and I was like, wow, this is kind of like not stupid Empire Earth. But the stupid was kind of what made Empire Earth fun, so I don't know how much I would have liked it. It's a respectable game, though. And Jaloran says, man, the Warcraft 3 modding scene was hype. Yeah, I was really invested in Warcraft 3 modding. It was a big part of my life in high school. And I loved it. Actually, my earliest theory crafting that's not true. My earliest theory crafting I ever did was for Age of Wonders 1. But some of the earliest theory crafting I ever put online was for Warcraft 3, the mod Island Defense. Eric says, I tend not to be too judgmental for campaign storytelling unless it's really bad. Just focus on gameplay. Kind of think the same for other games. Yeah, storytelling I really love when it's good, But mechanically, campaigns were starting to get a little old for me. There's still a lot of great stuff out there, though. I just tend to have, I don't know. I'm not a sandbox person in games in general. I like more focused approaches, which might sound weird considering theory crafting. And so because of that, campaigns kind of felt a little slow, like seeing similar versions of the same thing plan out and out over and over again. But a lot of people love that sort of thing. And I think there's a great niche for it, and the people who love it should love it. And that's objective. Rise of Nations was excellent, adds Diego. Jaloran says, Medieval 2 is such a weird one. I remember it being fine with the graphic interface until I went back to from Shogun 2. Yeah, I've heard some people say Medieval is their favorite by far, and I've heard that the unit behavior was great in Medieval. That's great to hear. All right. It's been 3 hours, guys. I think I'm going to have to sign off. I said I would only do a couple more questions like 15 minutes ago, and then it got out of hand. But thank you all so much. I hope you've had fun. I hope you've enjoyed seeing all the awesome builds people submitted. Thank you for all the great questions. It's been really fun doing back and forth conversation with you guys. And yeah, if you haven't joined the Discord, join the Discord. It's linked from my channel's main page. Maybe I should put it in the description of this video. Maybe. Too late. And I hope you've had fun, and I hope you can do something like this in the future. If you want to see more streams, let me know if you have said so already, but keep it up so make sure I remember going forwards, because I got some big stuff coming forwards on the channel. I hope you've enjoyed the recent videos. And as always, my name is Robbie Howell, and ciao for now. See you later, everybody.